Hey everybody, Ryan here from Music City Live. Welcome to the show. I'm here with John Huff. John, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. This is absolutely my honor. I have many times been flipping the channels on a Friday night or Saturday night and come across this show and seen somebody I know sitting in the chair, and it's always a really great watch. So
cool. Well,
kind of surreal to be in the studio, and quite an honor actually. So thanks very much.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And now it's you in the chair, which is great.
Now it's me. I'm a drummer, right? So I'm usually at the back. I'm a side guy, it's never my name on the poster, but once in a while they let us come out and talk, So.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, John is a writer, drummer, publicist, and podcaster. Jerry, you want to pull the photo up for us of the podcast?
Oh, right off the hop.
Oh yeah, I might as well get it out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Look at that guy.
Look at that guy. Love the shirt.
Look at the collar on that shirt.
I know.
Man.
That's something your eyes go to. It's like, wow.
This is the problem with being stylish but being a drummer, is that nobody can see you back there. So it's like you're wasting your time trying to look good, right?
So we'll circle back to Semi-Eloquent the podcast.
Terrific.
Where were you born?
I was born and raised in the fighting city of Owen Sound, Ontario.
Really?
Yeah, which everybody confuses with Parry Sound, Ontario. It's not the same.
No,
so,
definitely not.
Yeah, on the shores of Georgian Bay in the snow belt. And I was there until I went to university when I was 18. So I lived Owen Sound as a home base until I was in my early 20s. I was done school and then moved off to various places. But yeah, Owen Sound is home.
Owen Sound?
Yeah.
How did you get into the music thing? Did that happen there or was it after?
Yeah, there's a couple of phases here.
Okay.
Like I grew up as a music person. I was born into it. My family's really super musical. I have 3 older sisters and a mom, all of whom are fantastic singers.
Oh, wow.
Way better than me. and they're substantially older than me. And so I grew up with these older people singing. My family would sing these incredible 4-part harmonies, and I grew up in church, and there's just a lot of music. And we had, you may be old enough to remember this, when your record player was a piece of furniture.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not these cool turntables, like a piece of furniture, like a cabinet with stuff sitting on it, right? Mm-hmm. And some of my earliest memories are of putting on a 45 of like an Elvis tune or maybe some Beatles we had, and literally falling asleep against the speaker on this piece of furniture that was the record. It had an 8-track in it.
Yep.
Sweet, man. I wish we still had it.
My grandmother still has one of these in her basement.
Amazing, right? It weighed like 600 pounds. Awesome. And I'd fall asleep listening to whatever 45s we happened to have in the house, right? So music was always there. I always had just this really visceral connection to music. Now, everybody has that, I've learned over time, but those of us who do really feel it. So music was always there. And then I was forced against my will to take piano lessons with this. I'm not even going to talk about my piano teacher. I didn't enjoy piano. I had to be forced to practice piano. And I regret now that I didn't take it more seriously, because it would be great to be able to play, which I can't. I can't play a note. So I was forced into music lessons that I didn't want to take. And I had this moment when I was about 10. And a kid said to me, "What instruments do you play?" And I said, "I play the piano and I play the drums." I'd never played the drums in my life. Never once. But it was like premonition of sorts, I guess, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
this idea that I play the drums was rolling around long before I actually did play the drums. And then in high school, I was a first trumpeter in the jazz band, and I let that go too. Like, I played the trumpet for 7 solid years, and I didn't keep it up, and I really regret that too.
Oh, yeah.
So piano, trumpet, I could have been a triple threat, but in fact, I'm only barely a single threat. But music and performing was always kind of there. And then I picked up the drums actually for the first time and played when I was probably 14 or 15. I came very late to the party. You see people who began playing when they were 3, and their dad had a band, and they would, at 7, they were in the club sitting in with their dads. You know what I mean? None of that. None of that. So at a certain point, I was 14 or 15. Somebody had a drum kit, and I sat behind it and actually played for the first time and could kind of do it. I could kind of do it. You know, I didn't have to think too hard about the technique, but the coordination, the foot, the hands, it was just kind of there from the beginning. And then from there, I became a church drummer.
Oh, wow.
Like Jordan McDonald. I watched your interview with Jordan, and he grew up as a church drummer too.
That's right.
That's a unique thing to be. That's especially in the 80s when I was growing up and starting. You hear a lot about like gospel is a genre now, especially in the States. Like people are gospel drummers. They do something called gospel chops, which is all this really intricate playing. And like your church service is on tracks, and it's a big deal to be a church drummer. It wasn't in the 80s. We're just, people who played in the church band. I grew up in a very musical church. Music was a big part of it. And so I actually cut my teeth performing what wound up being 3 gigs a week at church as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
Having no idea what I was doing, right? But that's where I started playing.
Okay.
So playing jazz trumpet, the reluctant pianist, and then playing church drums and getting into rock and roll. And that's kind of where it begins for me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The church thing is interesting. Jordan, it's funny you bring up the Jordan thing, because I didn't even realize Jordan played in a church band.
I didn't know that
before I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
These are the things that I learned from people that I've known for years. Right.
Yeah.
And I could know someone for literally 20, 30 years, and I'll sit them in that chair, and there's always some stuff that comes up that I'm like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's cool. I didn't know that about you as well. So that's cool. I mean, the church thing for me, I never got into the church thing. Although I did, I did take some piano lessons when I was, 10 or something, that I didn't like. And I had to be forced to practice and the whole thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And it turned me off. And then I think about maybe a year or so later, my parents tried again with one of my dad's cousins, and a great guy. And but I was already turned off. Unfortunately, I think he really tried. Like he got some newer music out, some rock tunes, pop tunes.
Right, yeah.
But I just wasn't feeling it. I was just like. It was already, that ship had sailed a bit for me. So I did over time learn, chords and how to write, enough to write dance music and a bit of country. But that's about it for me in terms of the lesson thing. It just didn't really pan out.
I was in the Conservatory program.
Yeah, that was me too. Yamaha had a conservatory program here in town.
It was all classical music, right?
Yeah.
And my teacher, it was taught in her home. So I'd go sit in her vestibule waiting for my turn in the coldest, most sterile environment possible.
Yeah.
And I'd sit at the piano with my hands, and she would put erasers on the back of my hands.
Oh, my.
Like erasers. The erasers have to stay on your hands or your technique is wrong. So if you slouched like this, or if you moved wrong, the erasers would fall. So it was very rigid,
that's
very
wild.
tight, and we didn't play anything fun. And it was not a fun place to be as a 6-year-old. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
I think that's how it was done back then, though. Like I don't know if they did fun. They certainly didn't in my case, and I had to be dragged to that piano to practice. Like I'll just practice the left hand parts tonight.
Even just you talking about it, I can already tell it was just not
cool,
desirable to be.
But I
there,
so regret that I didn't actually keep it up.
Absolutely, I do too.
But I know I was going to be a musician later. If I could go back to 6-year-old me, I'd say, "Kid, look, this is going to be really helpful in about 40 years. Just stick with it, and then you'll be able to have that." And I don't, and it's really too bad.
Well, thank goodness for my wife. She did stick with it, and she did get up to grade 10. And,
oh, nice.
And we have a 6-year-old now that's in it, and she's got a good teacher, and she's up there now.
That's great.
And getting through it. So good for her. I'm super excited about that actually, because again, it's something that I wish I would have stuck with and didn't, and now I'm watching my little one do it, and she's sticking with it, and that's great.
Will serve her well for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's like you like it or you don't. Like people who take to piano like duck to water, and they're magnificent. My very good friend Kay Howell is one of those. She's a magnificent pianist, can play anything and does. And you're just like, well, she was born to play the piano. I was not born to play the piano. That's what I've concluded.
Yeah, I get that.
You know?
Yep. So after the church thing, you went to university, yeah?
Yeah, I went off to school to get a career as a teacher that didn't pan out.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, the musical story is I sold my drums when I was in university. In my 4th year, I needed money for tuition. The only asset I had was my drums, and I didn't have an opportunity to play with them anyways. I was in school, so I sold them, but I sold them with a vow. And the vow was, one day, when my student loans are paid off, supposing that ever happens, I will buy drums and I will start again. So that was the deal I made with myself. It's a little bit like Jim Carrey's $10 million check in the pocket. You know that story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mine was less extravagant. I'll buy drums again when I get there. And it took 10 years, but I did that. So I think probably within a week after I paid off those loans, finally, off I went and I bought drums and I began again.
Amazing. And then where did it begin for you again when you started playing?
Oh, it was awkward, man.
Was it?
Yeah. I bought these drums and I set them up and I sat behind them and I was like, I used to do this, right? I used to know how to do this.
Feel a little foreign.
It felt weird. And then you start to play a bit and it's like, yeah, stuff comes back. And then that was the internet age at that point. So it's like you could go online and you could begin to learn from people and then get really freaked out and intimidated by how good everybody is. And that's when I made the decision, I better take some lessons. I had no intention of playing out. I had no intention of making anything more than the hobby that this always was for me, right? Envisioning stuff like sitting here in this chair, none of that. It was just, I want to be a drummer again. And so maybe jam with some people. But I was in my 30s. I was like 33 probably. And I was mature enough to say, I don't know what I'm doing. Especially when you're on YouTube watching people who are amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
I get that.
That's what it is. That's a double-edged sword, though. Maybe we'll talk about that. But so I went in search of a teacher, and lucky me, found Dale Ann Brendon. I don't know if you know Dale Ann or not, but she's actually based in Stratford, but she's teaching in London.
I don't know her, actually.
Dale she's been around a very long time, and she's magnificent. And she has played and toured with Randy Bachman, for example.
Oh, wow.
And just a bunch of other acts, and a fantastic player, still the finest player I know.
Wow.
And the finest teacher. And I was so lucky. By sheer accident, I fell into a drum studio with Dale Ann Brendon, and she had the difficult task of trying to get me to play the drums properly. Because one of the things that happens when you're a high school player hacking around, in your basement or in the church, you learn a lot of bad habits. And I learned a lot of bad habits. So I came to her with technique that was dicey, at best dicey. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the language of drums. I didn't know grooves. I didn't know. And so she brought me up to speed on the fundamentals of drumming that I had just sort of sussed out on my own, which can work, but I sat in front of her and she fixed me a little. I couldn't be all the way fixed, but she fixed me to the extent that I could be, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so I studied with her for quite a long time, learning to read a little bit, learning about rudiments, learning how to just do things better, safer. Drumming is very physical, and if you get that wrong, you can hurt yourself. People do. Carpal tunnel, shoulder problems, elbow problems, wrist problems. I've had none of that, knock wood. And a lot of that is to do with Dale teaching me how to do this properly up to a point, right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I spent much of my 30s studying with her, learning, and just being in my basement and playing the drums, and then going online and seeing how great everybody is and feeling like I'm in no way qualified to do any of that. And being offered opportunities to play it and not taking them out of sheer terror of performing live,
Really?
which I was not expecting.
Wow.
I was a teenager in high school playing fundamentally 3 shows a week in front of church audiences, which are some of the most demanding audiences a fella can play in front of.
Yep.
Some of the most judging audiences that a fella can play in front of. And I managed that well enough. And it's like, it came around to being a little bit older. Ignorance maybe was bliss as a teenager. I didn't know that I wasn't, in my mind, I didn't know that I wasn't good enough. I was good enough to do what I was doing, but I didn't have anything to compare to. I lived in a small city, weren't a lot of drummers around, whatever, go and play. And then, but when I was older, I was very intimidated because I saw how good everybody is. I saw how good Dale is. It's like, I can't do that stuff. And other people, and especially in the past 15 years or so, since Instagram, since Facebook, kind of sport drumming has become a thing, right? So it's like, what goes viral on a TikTok if you're a drummer? Well, that insanely fast, intricate lick that you play does, right? And so people make whole careers out of doing really incredible sport drumming that 99 times out of 100 probably doesn't apply musically, right?
Yeah.
Right? But it's very easy to get caught up in, if that's the technical level you're supposed to be at to be visible as a player, I'm in a lot of trouble, man, because I, A, can't do that, and B, don't all that much want to. It's like, oh no, is this what it's going to be? And so in my mind, I'm fighting against this image I've got of what a drummer's supposed to be, right?
Right.
And it's that. But it's like, well, is that person playing a band? Is that person is that person doing anything musically actually beyond making TikToks?
So do you think that's changed young people's perception of what it takes then?
And I think
that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
It's a bad thing. And not that there isn't room in certain genres for that style of playing, and not that it's not producing a lot of young people who can really play. But it's like, if I'm a 30-plus-year-old man and I'm feeling a pressure to have to play that way, what's it like as a 9, 10, 11-year-old who is maybe less mature, less discerning, and you must feel like giving up, right? It's like, if this is what I got to be, I'll just never get there. But the point is, that isn't what you have to be. And I'm the proof of that. One of the reasons that I go around talking to people like this is not because I'm some terrific drummer. It's because I'm not some terrific drummer. And yet I've managed to figure out a way to have a kind of a career. And it's like, I had to reach a point where the way I play is okay. And the way I play really values simplicity. The people who are my heroes as drummers are not the normal players. They are people who play very simply and play in the pocket and play the song. And it's like, that has always been the appeal to me. I've never all that much enjoyed sitting behind the drum set and noodling around. I've very much enjoyed playing music with people, right?
Yep.
So I think a lot of what happens now is that there's, to a certain extent, people are losing that part where you play music with people. So much of what people do now is for the gram, and that's solo and isolated a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, it wasn't supposed to be that way. You're supposed to learn to play the drums so that you could play the music with people, right?
Yeah, so you can put part of the group.
Yeah, so I can see if you're a young kid feeling a certain amount of pressure to be that. And if you're not that, feeling like you're not very good and you'll never get anywhere, neither of which is true.
Yeah, right.
But I had to learn that too as an adult. So what it's like for a kid, I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, and with that combined with all the rest of the social pressures and just life now is just because of access to information. It's not as simple as it once was, right? Life was once simple before the internet because all you had was what was in front of you.
That's
and
right.
Now all of a sudden you can get on a device and see everything in the world.
Everything.
And it just becomes extremely intimidating overall. Never mind just watching the drum videos.
Yeah. I mean, it's for everything, right? It's not just drums.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to teach kids some discernment. you know? And the other thing is that a lot of the drum videos aren't necessarily all that real. So there's a lot of triggering going on. There's some manipulation going on. And you're seeing that might be the 47th take of that lick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, but you can still learn a lot from those people. I'm not dissing those drummers who do that. They're amazing. But it's like, it's not the whole story, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I would think that, especially, you can comment on this because of your experience, but I would think that finding someone that can teach you at a more grounding level, that is a decent drummer, but also a decent human being that can sort of ground you and say, hey, wait a minute, like let's just start, that's all great. What you're seeing on there, but let's just start and let's just see where we go with this, right? Because it's a bit of a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But it's like the piano thing where I said some people will just be ducks to water with the piano. Some people will be ducks to water with that kind of drumming too.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's for the people who like me who aren't all that interested in that. You're like, I just want to play that 2 and 4 beat that I like that feels really nice to play. And you feel like that's not good enough. I can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like having a teacher who can recognize the way a kid actually wants to do things, right? I haven't taught kids. I'm theorizing, but I think the goal of a teacher, or the role of a teacher, is so much to encourage people in the direction that they want to go.
Yeah.
But also to equip them with what they will need. I mean, you do need a certain amount of stuff. But it's like, if your heart is in playing pocket, if your heart is in playing a certain genre, then indulge that heart, and encourage them to be the best they can be in that particular world.
Yeah.
My thing is simplicity. I've, over the course of the last 15 years, gone to war with myself over whether that's okay or not. But it worked for Charlie Watts.
Yeah, there you go.
It worked for Ringo. It's like,
yeah.
That's my tribe. That's where I gravitate, and it's like, thank God for those guys. They make it okay for me and some modern players too, just to really enjoy sitting in a pocket that feels nice and letting the artist that I'm playing with, shine out there. That's kind of my objective every time I sit down behind the kit. Just provide the foundation, provide the platform, and let it be about whoever's out front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's interesting that you bring up the following whatever style or genre that's in your heart. When I was writing music with my cousin, we always kept looking at, okay, well, what's a hit right now? Like
did you?
What's the
that
right
game?
Now? Yeah, and it was funny because the stuff that we wrote that we loved, when you fast forward 10 years and you listen to some of the music, you're like, oh, that sounds amazing. That's the stuff that we loved and we were passionate about. Right. And it actually took us less time to write it because we weren't forcing it.
No, it's like a spiritual thing, man. It comes through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. I've physically experienced this where, you almost, the encouraging is definitely a good word for it, but you definitely have to follow that path. Like it's whatever you feel most passionate and most connected to, that's the direction. Even if like, okay, well, rock's not big right now, or, but I'm a rock drummer, but okay, well, just do rock. Like you're not going to be a country drummer because you're not going to, your heart's not going to be all into it. You can do it.
You can do it if you're getting paid. That's what a pro does.
Well, and that's just it, right? It depends on what it's all about the journey. That's what I was saying earlier, right? It's all about the journey that you want to take. And so some people will take the path of being a hired gun and getting paid the money and going and playing and doing the country thing. I mean, lots of guys in rock did that, especially coming out of the 90s and early 2000s.
100% they did, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just the way it was the way to keep gigging.
That's where the opportunity was, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, we saw that, and my dad saw that too because he was a rock guy that came out of the 90s and sort of refound himself in the mid 2000s doing a country project that he probably never thought he'd ever do. So
if you had told me as a teenager that I would be playing in an alternative country band, I would have fallen over. And yet here we are. But a curious thing happened to me on the way is that, I mean, I'm as a listener, traditionally a rock guy. Grew up in the 80s listening to glam metal and thrash.
Oh, yeah.
That was my game. And so when I was a kid playing drums with the headphones on, that's what I was playing to. You fast forward to an adult and it's like, I still love that music, but I don't play it all that well. It's not where my groove is, man.
Yeah, interesting.
And it turns out I play well in Americana and alternative country. And so I play with artists like Carly Thomas, singer-songwriters, Deni Gauthier, Lindsey and the Lonelies, the alt country bands. I had no idea that my heart as a musician was actually there, you know? So it's funny what happens along the way, but you don't know if you don't play. So sometimes you have to dip your toe just to find out, you know?
It's true.
I still play once in a while, you know, rock cover gigs and stuff. And it's fun and everything, but it's like, I know I'm not as good here as I am in some of those other areas. I mean, the ideal is you can handle almost anything, right? Somebody like Dale Ann, some of these really high level players can drop pretty comfortably into almost anything. They can even play orchestral music.
Oh, wow.
I can't do that.
Right.
I can't do that, you know? So I've had to kind of focus a little bit.
For sure.
It's like, if I'm going to be reasonably good at something, I better focus on it. You know, I don't have the ability to be good everywhere like some people can.
Sure.
But even those people have their heart in one place or another. And sometimes that's a genre. Sometimes that's people that they're playing with.
Yeah, right.
Right. Sometimes it's an opportunity. Hard to say, but you know when you love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know when you feel it. And there's something in that. No matter what piece of it is you're feeling, it's like follow the feels.
Follow the feeling. And it can change over time.
Yep.
What happened in Jamaica in 2012?
Oh man, this is where we start to get weird.
Sure. I like getting weird.
This story always kind of cracks me up. All right, so me in 2012, I've had drums again for, I don't know, 7, 8 years, 9 years. Playing in my basement, jamming with a couple of guys here and there, turning down opportunities to play gigs because too scary. At the time, I'm a fiction writer, or trying hard to be. So I spent 10 or so years of my life writing really bad novels that didn't get published. Okay, it was a phase. And so I'm coming to the end of that phase, and I'm very upset about it. It's not working. I've tried real hard, and it hasn't worked. And, you know, I'm trying to write something new. It's not working. I'm very frustrated. And it's like, this maybe isn't my thing. It sucks. Tried real hard at that. Was kind of hoping. Didn't work out. So I'm in Jamaica. Again, I've been playing drums in my basement, but hiding out of fear. And so I'm in Jamaica at a resort, and my former spouse and I are in the martini bar after dinner, which is up above the buffet in this restaurant.
Okay.
And we're sipping apple martinis, which might have had something to do with this. There's a house band playing after dinner, just entertaining the people. Just playing covers, right? All the usual covers that everybody plays. But they're having a great time. Like, they're having a ball down there. They're smiling, there's energy, they're playing. And I'm listening and I'm like, I could probably do that, you know? And then I had an intuition. And it gets weird because it was audible. It was visceral. And a voice said, you have to start playing music now.
Wow.
That really happened. I'm not making it up. You have to start playing music now. Terrifying thought to me at the time. But I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this because it was pretty intense. And so I went home after that trip. I don't remember if it was 2011 or 2012. Doesn't matter. 2011 maybe. And I put an ad on Bandmix, which I don't know if it still exists, but that was kind of, at the time, it was kind of a dating app for musicians. You know, musicians wanted, musicians, whatever. So I put a profile on there, and I started looking around. And long story short, I wound up corresponding with a dude called Tyler. Okay, he was local. We sort of lined up more or less musically, in the ballpark at least. It's like, well, hey, do you want to have a jam? Okay. So one night, Tyler shows up at my house with this other dude I wasn't expecting called Mike. Tyler's a guitar player. Mike is a bass player. Okay, come on in, lads. And we had a jam. And I was very nervous going in because, again, I don't feel like I have got what it takes to do this. I mean, it's funny in retrospect, but at the time it was like, geez, man, I hope they don't find out. Hope they don't find out I'm a fraud down here, you know. But we had this jam for a couple hours. We had a good time. We worked. They had some original songs they were trying to write. We tried to hack our way through some covers. Okay. And it went okay, actually. And then we got together again, and then we got together again. And the three of us became the nucleus of the band Hiroshima Hearts eventually.
Wow.
And some of your viewers may have been around long enough to remember Hiroshima Hearts, which still exists as Jen and the Hearts now. But back in the day, we were three guys in a basement. And that three guys in a basement wound up eventually recording a couple of albums and making a bunch of videos and opening for Nazareth and Finger 11 and the Headstones and playing shows. And it became a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it launched for me the last 15 years of my life, which have been, in my opinion, in my view, absolutely amazing. To the person who was terrified to have that first jam.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, that's why sort of, you know, I wanted to build it up to that, because you need the backstory to realize what you went through, right?
Yeah, man.
Like, because then it all makes sense. Then it's like, oh wow! After all that, he did end up going on to do all that. That's
but
crazy.
It's a story about how things fall into place and how just putting one foot forward can open up everything. Things that you didn't even really dream of, right?
Yeah.
On my podcast, I have a tagline, a saying, which is, good things happen when you put yourself out there. And I'm the living proof of that. The reason I come on shows like this and the reason I talk about my career, because again, I'm not a fantastic drummer. It's not about that. It's about, wow, the things that can happen if you just have the courage to push through that little veil of fear. So Hearts, we weren't even called Hiroshima Hearts yet. We were just three guys in a basement jamming for the better part of a year before we realized we need a singer, because we are not going anywhere with any of us singing lead, right? And eventually we found this girl called Megan Winsby, who is a fantastic jazz singer, blues singer. And she came in and started singing with us. And eventually the guys were like, well, we should book a show. And I froze. I just froze, right? It's like, oh no, I can't do that. It's so bizarre in retrospect. Where this fear came from, I don't really know, but I've had to deal with a lot of ego stuff and attachment stuff. It's just been a whole psychological journey.
Wow.
I talk about my career, such as it is in music, as a crucible, and people don't quite know what that means, but a crucible in metallurgy is a melting pot. Okay. So you put pieces of metal into a crucible and you heat them really, really hot, and they melt down into something stronger and more pure. Well, for me, music has been a crucible for psychological stuff, for mental stuff, for spiritual stuff, coming to understand what I attach to, what I'm afraid of, and then confronting it day by day, gig by gig, experience by experience, overcoming these things. And it's all a matter of pushing through this little veil of fear that exists. And that doesn't have to be with music. That can be anything in your life that it is that you want or would like to try or like to pursue, whatever. It's like fear holds you back. But I'm here to tell you that if you just push through that fear a little bit, it can open up in extraordinary ways. And so we eventually did book a gig. And I freaked out about that for a couple of months as we were preparing for it. We were going to play in the basement of the old London Music Club.
Oh, wow.
Right? Remember that place?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Fabulous place. But it wasn't even the main room. It was downstairs. It's going to be for 30 friends if they all came. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There couldn't be a lower pressure gig, right?
Yeah.
was panicked. I remember packing up my gear that day, and I'm not a 9 or 10-year-old. I'm in my late 30s. I'm a full-on adult. As Deni Gauthier would say, a grown-ass man, and I'm terrified. Packing up my gear, and I'm like shaky. Oh, yeah. It's amazing in retrospect. The level of fear I had about being found out to be not good enough. Amazing. Anyways, we get to the music club we set up. Okay, good. And then cometh the hour when Hiroshima Hearts, we had chosen that name finally, would ascend to the stage that was this high for the very first time. And my knees were shaking as I went up there. Nothing but friendly faces. I get up and I start to play. And about 4 bars into the first song, all stage fright disappeared.
Wow.
Whoosh.
Really?
It was like, oh, wait. I forgot the part where this is fun. And it went away and has never come back.
Wow.
I've played in front of 5,000 people, not an ounce of stage fright. And had I not just ascended that little tiny step, I wouldn't have known that, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping there are people who are watching this right now who are deathly afraid of something, can take from my story the courage to push through that fear just a little bit and see what opens up on the other side. I'm sitting here right now because I stepped onto that stage 14 years ago or whatever it was, because everything that's happened since has led me to this chair.
Yeah.
From one small act of courage.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's the message.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a journey, and it's been an enlightened one for you. It sounds like, right?
Getting to be. I don't call myself enlightened, but I've learned a lot.
Well, yeah,
I've learned a lot by making some mistakes.
Yeah, I get that. Well, hopefully we all learn from our mistakes, right?
Hopefully, or otherwise you will repeat them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which that perpetual cycle is not fun for anybody.
It isn't.
No,
it isn't.
No, and that's why you're here. So thank you.
I'm very honored to be. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Hiroshima Hearts thing, how long were you in the band?
So about 6 years, I think. I want to say 6 years. I think we started playing out in, I don't remember if it was 2013 or 2012. I should have checked that. I don't remember.
It's okay.
Either or. And so we played a handful of gigs and was really enjoying it then, becoming a little bit more confident because I'm playing the music. Nobody seems to notice that I'm not any good, so maybe I'm okay. Terrific. And then I recognized at the time a gap in local coverage, the coverage of the local music scene. There was a show on CHRW, which was London Indie Underground, on Friday afternoons, was playing local music and interviewing local bands, and then that went off the air at a certain point. And I recognized that nobody was covering the local scene, but I'm a writer. I'm a background in public relations, communications. I can do that. So I started a blog called The London Groove Machine.
Oh, cool.
Which some people out there may remember. 2014 to 2017, I ran the London Groove Machine blog, where I interviewed local bands, local artists. I interviewed touring artists, eventually some of my heroes, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
It's interesting what a platform, just a little blog, can provide for you.
Sure.
You know, I got people pitching. I interviewed Gordy Johnson from Big Sugar. I interviewed Tom Kiefer from Cinderella and Jeff LaBar from Cinderella. 16-year-old me would have fainted at the prospect. I interviewed Doug Pinnick of the band King's X, which is my favorite band on planet Earth. So what a moment that was. All because I had this little dinky local music blog. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. But one of the things that happened was that somebody messaged me and said, hey, I saw your blog. You should interview my friend Carly Thomas.
Oh, cool.
Local singer-songwriter who at the time had just released or was about to her EP Explode. I feel like that's 2014, yeah. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. Exactly what we're trying to do. So I sat down at a coffee shop with Carly, not knowing that fate was intervening in a massive way and a massive way in my life. And I'm a massive fan of Sarah Harmer. All right. Every time I do anything public, I put it on the record that my dream gig is Sarah Harmer. So Sarah, if you're listening,
Yeah.
I keep saying it. Sooner or later, she's going to hear it. And I have a funny story because I actually got to meet and chat with her drummer, Deni Nash, recently. So I was 1 degree of separation from Sarah, but I like Dani, so I'm not going to get in her way. Anyways, just another thing that happened because I stepped onto a stage many years ago. I interviewed Carly, and at the end of it, because Carly's in the same vein as Sarah Harmer is. Like, a lot of her music reminded me of, like, oh, I really genuinely love Carly's music. It's up my alley. And I was realizing it's up my alley as a player. Hiroshima Hearts was a big, loud rock band, which was enormous fun. And I got to write for that band, and terrific. And we had a thing which was cool. I was realizing I enjoy playing this sort of a little bit more muted kind of stuff. And maybe I played a little bit better. Along comes Carly. So the very last thing I said to her was, the interview's over, we're just saying goodbye. I said, if you're ever looking for a drummer, I'd love to play with you sometime. And she said, funny you should mention that. I actually am looking for a drummer for a couple of gigs. And that was fate intervening in the most powerful way.
That's cool.
Because I continue to play with Carly, 10, 11 years later. It's been off and on, but I'm still playing with her. And we toured across Canada together, and we've played like home county. We played the main stage at home county with the Carly band. And Carly, the music business is such a game of connections.
Oh, yeah.
Right? All you kids out there, I don't know what camera to point at. All you kids, music is a game of connections. That's why you've got to be out there playing, right? Nobody's going to find you in your basement. Get out and play and watch how the connections come together. So in my case, I started playing with Carly. Her bass player is a cat called Ken Ross. Okay. Ken Ross at the time is the bass player for somebody called Sarah Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where this begins. So I'm playing in Carly's band with Ken, and fine, that goes on and whatever. And then some years down the line, I opened a boutique publicity agency, and the first person I contacted to work for was Sarah, because Sarah, especially at the time, was kind of the biggest deal around here. I mean, she was internationally touring. She had a real following, a real audience, and was a full-timer making a living. I mean, that's, wow, amazing. It's like Sarah actually could probably use some help, which it turns out she could. Sarah knew who I was because I had interviewed her on London Groove Machine as well. That's how I met her. But I was connected through Ken, right? So Ken's become one of my best friends. And so I started working for Sarah, and then came the time when Sarah needed a drummer for a gig or a couple of gigs. And I was on her list, and somehow I eventually found my way to the top. Hey, can you come do a couple of gigs with me? Yeah. Nervous, because, in my mind, Sarah's up here, man. It's a step up in terms of visibility, audience, whatever. It's like, all right, if you've got fear and self-doubt, it's going to surface now, because this is a step up, man. And, her regular drummer was the great Bobby Reynolds, who is fantastic. And it's like, I'm stepping into some heavy shoes, man. But at this point, I've got, 5 years behind me, a little bit of confidence. And I got that gig because Ken Ross is saying you should hire Huff.
Oh, wow.
Because I played with Ken and Carly's band. But again, I met Carly because I took the initiative to start the London Groove Machine blog. This is another thing. It's like, put yourself out there. I put myself out there as a blogger in this case. And then it bore this amazing fruit. So suddenly I'm playing gigs with Sarah. And then in 2017, Sarah says, you got a passport? Yeah, I got a passport. What's going on? She says, do you want to go to Europe and play for a month? Do I? I didn't know what language to say yes in. So all of a sudden, I'm touring in Europe with Sarah. And we did that 4 times, actually. And I toured all across Canada with Sarah, and I toured and played in the States with Sarah. It's like all these connections just falling into place. And I currently play with a band out of Kingsville called Fresh Breath, Josh and Katie Pascoe, who I met through playing a gig with Sarah that they were on. Also on that bill was Kay Howell, who has become who I've talked about, the piano savant. Kay's become one of my very dearest friends, and I play with her, and that's off of having played a gig with her, with Sarah. Connections, it all just comes together, and it's so much easier if you're out there playing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And through the blog, if we can backtrack to the beginning, I met so many people in the local scene through the blog, and because I was providing a service to those people. Yeah. Let me highlight your music. Let me promote your show. Let me get you out there, and serving people opens doors too. You know what I mean? And it was not a cynical thing either. It was genuine. Like, let's promote this scene. And at the time, the scene was really hopping. 2014, 2015, like the Blackshire pub was still the heart of the indie scene locally. Every Friday and Saturday night there were indie shows at the Shire. Hearts played there. We did a CD release there. The whole scene would gather if you didn't have a gig at the Shire on a Friday, Saturday night. APK was open. Norma's was open. Music Club was open. So many of those places are gone now. Call the Office was open. But there was a scene happening in those days, man, and it was super cool, even though I was 10 years older than everybody. Super cool to be coming up in that scene, and it was really thriving in those days. And all of that is because a little bit of initiative and then connections, just connecting. Bang, 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 bang. And then I have to, it's like have had to remind myself at times, it's like, dude, if you couldn't hang, you wouldn't have stayed in those gigs, and I'm not trying to pump my own tires or be arrogant when I say that. It's just like a reminder to myself, like, look, dude, there are things that you do well enough. That's it. You just have to be good enough to be able to handle this gig or that gig. And it's like, I've had to come to grips with the way I play music, the way I play the drums, and it's not going to work everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to work in some places, and that's okay. And then I've learned to really give my all to those places. And what happened is eventually, in about 2018, I had to face a choice that a lot of people wind up facing, which is, are you a band guy or are you a hired gun? Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to be both. At the time, I was playing a lot with Sarah. I was fundamentally Sarah's road guy, and she was on the road all the time in those days. And so I was gone for weeks at a time performing with Sarah, which was, wow, who'd have thunk? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just wake up, pinch myself, and that's not because I'm driving past Prague on my way to some gig in the Czech Republic. I'd wake up in Miramichi, be like, this is great. Wow, I'm in Miramichi. This is amazing. I'm on the road playing. This is nuts. The novelty has never gone away. But I was out with her a lot, and that's great for me as a side player, and I'm getting paid, and I'm not making a living, but I can see one from here. Mm-hmm. I could see how it's possible. I'm not expecting this. I'm in my middle 40s. I'm supposed to be doing this at 22, not 45. But here I am. And it's like, the band can't book shows. Hearts can't book because the drummer's always away. And I felt really awful about that. And it reached a point where it's like, you gotta be one or the other, man. You can't divide yourself this way. It's not fair to anybody. And it took me 3 solid months of agony to eventually get to the point where I gotta take a shot at this. I didn't expect to be in a place where I could maybe do this for a living. I gotta take a shot. I'm in my 40s. This is it, man.
Yeah,
I don't get this. I don't get this chance again.
Yeah.
And so I made the agonizing decision to leave Hiroshima Hearts. My spouse, Kimmy, was also in the band at that time. We both decided to exit. And to be perfectly honest, especially in retrospect, it's a decision I regret to this moment.
Oh, really?
But because I love that band.
Yeah.
It's my band. I wrote for that band. We built it from the ground up. But these are kind of the professional choices you eventually have to make. The band couldn't progress because I wasn't around.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not fair, man. It's not fair. It'd be very selfish of me to hold them hostage that way.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I played my last gig with Hearts in 2018. And we rocked that joint, whatever it was. It was great. We at a certain point, we're a well-oiled machine. We'd worked very hard on the songs, the performance of the songs, and I think we were a pretty damn good band, actually. And we gave them one last shot, and then that was it. Then I'm a full-time freelancer at that point. I'm performing with Sarah, playing with Lindsey and the Lonelies a bit. I was in a band with Eminez called Nimue for a while, and picking up gigs here and there with folks. I was playing in a cover band with Ken called The Three, and we were just playing, covers on a Friday night. Rock and roll classics. Again, not where I'm the best at what I do, but good enough. Just good enough, And it was kind of a fun time, but a difficult time because it's tough to make a living that way. Mm-hmm. But again, I could see it from where I was. I could see where Sarah was going potentially. I could see how maybe I can meet other people who are playing at a higher level, and maybe I can grow into that somehow with somebody. Like, the possibilities seemed real enough at the time that I made that decision. That was 2018, late. And then we did all of 2019, went to Europe again, played for like 6 weeks, almost every night. Very demanding schedule Sarah would keep. We landed in one particular tour. We landed in Amsterdam on the red eye.
Yeah.
So got there at 10 in the morning and directly drove to where we were renting our gear from, loaded it up, and played 19 nights in a row.
Whoa.
Bang. Driving and playing every day. Utterly exhausting. Best 19 days of my life. I really love it. I really love it. And demanding, though. So we played, I think we had 2 or 3 days off in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Man, it was intense. But it's like, this is the dream, man. This is amazing.
Yep.
And then in 2020, we were in Texas in January. We did a month of shows in the Rio Grande Valley, right on the border of Mexico, where there are 200 trailer parks.
Oh, wow.
Actually, technically RV resorts.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're loaded every winter with Canadians.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Winter Texans. Yeah, you go to Florida, you go to Texas. Depends on what part of the country you're from. Ontarians all go to Florida. People from the West go to Texas, to the Rio Grande Valley, and they park a $100,000 RV there. And they play pickleball, and they want entertainment. And so Sarah got wind of this. All right, here's a whole little area full of venues that pay. It gets us out of here in the winter. What a great idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Right?
Yeah.
So in 2019, what they do is every year they have a showcase. So some association puts on a showcase where I think you have to apply for this thing. You get accepted to come and you perform for all of the talent bookers from those parks. So there's an audience of 200, all of whom are booking entertainment for their RV resorts.
Oh, cool.
Somehow we got accepted to come and do this. And so we drove 30 hours to Texas to play for 7 minutes.
Wow.
We were supposed to play for 9, but we screwed up our medley. So we played for 7. We played in Detroit on the way. We played in Dallas. We played in Houston. We played in Memphis right on Beale Street, which was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
To a mostly empty room, but it didn't matter. We were playing in Memphis. We got all the way down to wherever it is down there. We played for 7 minutes. And off of that, we booked something close to 30 shows for the following winter. They were lined up down the street to get Sarah.
Oh, wow.
We were novel. There was a lot of bluegrass. In Texas, there's a lot of dudes pretending to play a guitar singing karaoke. I don't know if you've seen that phenomenon.
No.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so we showed up, Ken, Ross, Sarah, and me, the trio. And we just put together a little medley of like some quote unquote oldies and like Roy Orbison kind of Beatles, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And blended in a couple of Sarah originals, and people's eyes lit up. Nobody was doing that. They're not bluegrass at all. So they loved it, right? And okay, so they booked Sarah to the gills, and then the next year we drove the 30 hours back down in January of 2020. And all was well. We played a month of shows down there. It was terrific. We were driving home. I got food poisoning. That was not fun, but it's a rite of passage. And just towards the end of our stay down there, people began to sort of whisper to each other about this thing called COVID. What is that? And it's a lot of old people down there in the winter. They're worried. They're going on cruises. They're like, should we cancel the cruise? There's this thing going on. We weren't paying all that much attention. By the time we got home, we just slid under the door before they shut it, and the world changed utterly. It was 2020. So the vision I had for this career that might happen was utterly obliterated in 2020, when the music industry was fundamentally obliterated in 2020. And the wheels fell off at that point, man. But it was a terrific ride up to that. And then for all of us, it's been an enormous period of adjustment post-COVID, right? Which we're still coming to grips with, I think, you know? I just did a lot of talking. Is there anything you wanted to jump in on that?
Hey, man, I just want to let you go. I want to make sure we get it all out there.
The mark of a good host.
No, it's all good. I think it was, after COVID, when we were in it, I kind of realized, but then after it was all we came out of it, I realized that we were one of the first industries to get shut, and we were one of the last to come back.
Yeah.
If we ever really, some people never really came back.
A lot of them didn't.
No, a lot of people who worked for, there was a bunch. My dad did a great thing during the pandemic. He spent his entire life savings trying to keep his staff on. He got some help from the government, like a lot of businesses did. But I mean, that's nothing relative to what it ended up being.
I'm sure.
Because everybody thought it was going to be, 3 months, then 3 months turned into 6 months, turned into a year. Yeah. Turned into 3 years.
Yep.
And so, he had no idea that was going to happen, but he kept it going, and good on him, because, he's in a great he's in a great spot. And but I think that that was a very, very rough time, not only for him, but for everybody in the biz. And like I say, some people that didn't do what he did, didn't invest and didn't hold on, they didn't survive. I mean, one of the companies that does what we do from Toronto, Westbury, they didn't make it. And my dad told me that when he purchased some of the assets and he was there in a truck picking it up, he just said he got back and he was like, man, that was the weirdest thing ever.
I bet.
He's like, I'm sitting in the parking lot of my buddy's place picking up this equipment, and it's just done. It's over, all that. And they both started kind of around the same time in the late 70s. So, just to put that much into something and then for it to just be gone, it's just such a weird thing for him at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But, I will never forget that, because I could really tell that really bothered him at the time, and so I took, sort of as a younger guy, I sort of took mental note of that. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's the thing, man. If you're really, you got to fight for it, and you got to, as much as you can anyway, and hold on to whatever you can. And so I hunkered down, we hunkered down here, and we did the best we could. I laid everybody off except for one person. I was delivering packages in my car.
Yeah.
I think I delivered in the first 3 months. I think I delivered somewhere close to 400 packages.
That's right. Wow.
I was delivering like a single pack of guitar strings to people's houses. Wow. I mean, I was losing money on that.
I'm sure you were. Yeah.
But it wasn't about that. It was that same kind of thing that my dad had in him, right? Which I think I probably get from him. Where it's like, the strong will go on, right? Like no matter what, we got to push through on this thing. And I knew that, hey, somebody's going to need stuff. Somebody's going to need guitar strings. Somebody's going to need, an electronic drum kit in their apartment because they can't play acoustic.
Absolutely.
Right. So I have to be the guy that shows up and that's just what it is. So we made it through and here we are, but it's not the same. It's definitely, a lot of things have changed for sure. And you brought up the scene earlier about how good the scene was back then. I contribute a lot of what happened to COVID, but there's other things we started to see around that time. I started to talk to people even in the States, down talking about Florida and that, I started to talk to people in 2018, 2017, and there was already it was already starting to come down where there was some shifts that were happening, where people, there's different ways I can go about this because there's different paths. There was multiple things that were happening at the same time. One was that younger people coming into the scene weren't valuing music the same.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that was a bit of an issue because everybody in a certain age category and down kind of thought that music should be free or at least very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now you end up with what you have in terms of streaming and streaming revenues and all that kind of stuff. And it makes it harder for you to survive as an artist, especially someone who isn't a major recording artist with tons and tons of streams. Right.
Absolutely.
So that's a thing. But then at the same time, combined with that, at least I can speak to this town. We started to see with COVID, even before COVID, but with COVID especially, we started to see a shift in terms of where all these venues were, in terms of how much parking's available and how safe is it, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then it also started to become London changed what it was doing, and it started to develop this inward and upward plan, which was allowing developers to start developing these large buildings downtown.
Yes.
And, okay, great. I have no issue with that, except for the fact that there's really no bylaw that requires there to be multi-use space in those facilities.
Yeah, I see.
Right. So part of the challenge that we have is that we're starting to lose some of these venues to, right, because that land is just worth more for a high rise than it is as a call the office, as an example.
That's what happened to the Shire.
Yeah, exactly. So this is something that we have to realize as not only here in London, but across the country and across the world. We have to realize that our culture is very sensitive, right? And it's taken, it takes generations to build, but it doesn't take long to disappear. Yeah. And we have to, it's very fragile, especially, again, I can speak to here. It's very fragile. And, that's why part of why I started this show. I mean, there's several reasons why, but this is one of them, is to try and inspire people, not only artists, to try to inspire people to contribute and to not only maintain what we have, but grow and build the scene, right? Yeah. Again, because I do think there's opportunities for people to not only, even if you're not a musician, there's opportunities to be a booker. There's opportunities to open a small coffee house venue. On one of my last episodes, I talked about, it'd be great if somebody could open up something just small like the Bluebird Cafe, where, people can just come in and work out some of the stuff they're working on. And, all of this kind of, these are opportunities that I'm hoping that as people are listening to my voice, they're like, oh, I could do that, because it's all part of it, right? Like me having Music City, having London Guitars in the Guitar Store, giving people, our intention for opening the store wasn't to just sell guitars. I mean, I could have done that with an online store, right? We wanted to create a place where people felt welcomed, where people could come and we greet you. Hey, how's it going, John? Good to see you. And we know your name. We know what strings you put on your guitar, and we actually want to sit there and talk to you. I mean, Derek, who's my drum manager, I'm an earshot in my office from him. I hear him talk for hours to some of these drummers, just about the world and everything, life, and then in the meantime, they've brought in a snare drum that he's like working on for them and fixes, and you just don't, we got to a point where that just was gone. And so we felt, you know what, this is something that we feel is important. This camaraderie, this community, this connection is important. And so when Boris and Bungie and me had the concept for the original store, London Guitars, it was going to be kind of a slight departure from what I was used to with PA Shop, because before that I sold PA systems, lighting, DJ equipment, recording.
Yep.
It was basically parts of my life. And then we shifted to this guitar thing, which was all new for me. But I knew that the intention was right. I knew that if the intention was there to help people, which was my original intention for starting my store in the beginning anyway, that this would be a great thing. And again, like you didn't know what would happen when you stepped on that stage. I didn't know what would happen when I drove around in my car for 10 months collecting vintage guitars. And then we barely had enough guitars in the place to kind of open. We did, but it was, certainly not what it is now. And but we just started, and we just knew that we had to do this thing. This was a great opportunity. And as I say, there's tons of great opportunities right now. So out of all of this chaos and all of this peril and all of this, crashing and burning that happened, there is still, at least in this town, there is still opportunity, I feel, for people to contribute to this community and to the scene and build some great stuff that we can all be a part of. And so, what are some of the things that, because you mentioned the scene back in, I think you were talking more like 2015, 2017, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you saw then that you think are opportunities to bring back now?
Well, the number one thing is venues for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have them. We have some. There's still some that exist. And like Palisade's, kind of carrying the flame these days. And I've played there a bunch, and they really look after you there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And the Richmond, of course, has been around forever, and it's still functioning. That's great. But so many are gone. And it's like, for me at least, that's one of the big things that's missing. It's just the opportunity. What gives me encouragement is that there's a lot of young bands playing now. A lot of them. Like Palisade will drop who they've got coming to play in the next month, and I'll be like, who are any of these people? I have no idea. But I've gone out to a few of those shows, and there'll be bands from high school, and they'll be great. B, the place will be packed. So yeah, people are interacting with music differently now, and I think young people today have a different sense of what music is than maybe we did, but they're still coming out to see those gigs, and there are still people on stage playing who are young. So there's hope in that. There's hope in that there's still evidently an audience, and there's still kids who want to play guitars. That's fantastic.
Yes.
We need venues. That's the fundamental thing for me. And then if there are venues, then a scene begins to develop. One of the great things, as I said about the Blackshire, was that you didn't care who was playing. If you were off on Friday night, you went to the Shire because you're going to know folks who are there because the rest of the scene is there. And it was so supportive. Like, you would look into the audience and see members of a dozen bands that right? And vice versa, Hearts wasn't playing, but we were there seeing whoever was, and we're like connecting with people. And from those connections come chances to play gigs. From those connections come new bands that get formed, So it's like the venues create the scene in a certain sense because they bring people together. Without that existing, it's really tricky to do, but I'm very encouraged by the fact that there seemed to still be an appetite for live music amongst young people. So, okay. I mean, I'm old now. And so during the pandemic, a lot of people who were my contemporaries stopped playing because they had to, never came back or have been very slow to come back.
Interesting.
That's dried up some of my gig opportunities, and it's like I feel to a certain extent like an outsider. But there used to be this really fun phenomenon where we'd go to the annual music awards, it was the one night a year when the entire you could see everybody, yay, hey, and you didn't even care about the award ceremony so much. It was just like, hey, who am I going to get to see and chat with?
Yeah.
The scene is a social scene. It depends on opportunities to come together. And for all of the nights of the year that aren't the awards, it's venues that provide that. So I mean, I can't speak to the economics of it. I can't speak to much beyond the fundamental, which is, damn it, we need places to play.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think some of the restaurants are trying, Toboggan's certainly doing more now.
Absolutely.
Fitzray's is still going. There's a place I just went to last week with Daryl Hers, who I had on the show. Took me on a little tour of some of the venues, and there's a new pizza place right next door to them. It'll come to me, the name, in a second. But I did visit a good number of places. There's still definitely some venues in town. They're definitely trying to make a go of it.
Yes, they are.
There's a couple down in Old East Village, that are doing a great job of with all of the chaos down there, doing a great job of booking people and trying to make things happen. Mm-hmm. But I think that you are right, 100%. And when I started this show a couple of years ago, we had even less venues than we do now, which is crazy, because I came, like you said, we came from a time when we had a lot of venues. Mm-hmm. When I was working with the music office to write our UNESCO designation, we had quite a few venues we put on that thing. And then, of course, things started shifting and changing, and then the pandemic, and then, just the cost of everything. I mean, I can comment to that because several clients of mine and friends of mine are venue owners, and they said, it was incredibly hard. If you weren't a restaurant, it was incredibly hard to get insurance after the pandemic.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was almost literally impossible. There was a couple of places that were specifically nightclubs that physically could not get insurance for a period of time. And I know the one guy I think he got like some temporary racetrack insurance or some type insurance or something. Well, everybody was trying to figure out a way. And, if there's a will, there's a way, that a wise person once told me. So I guess they found a way, because those two places are still going, and they've managed to find insurance now.
Okay.
But so somebody eventually changed. But I think that it did definitely stifle a lot of that scene and the venue scene. And now what you see is definitely a lot of places that do serve food and and are able to have, and not just for the purpose of insurance, but even just for multiple revenue streams.
You have to have them, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And so I get it. And so it's interesting. I think that the food thing or the coffee shop thing, the one venue I did go to last Friday with Daryl was a coffee shop down in Old East Village.
Okay.
And I'd never been there. They're like, hey, you never been there? Well, I haven't drank coffee in 4 years. So nobody knew that.
Okay.
They're like, oh, I guess you haven't been there then.
Yeah, right.
But no, it was a great little spot, and had a good time. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of opportunity for venues. I would encourage people to lean on. I don't even know who anymore, but we need to figure out as a community. We need to figure out a way to stop from all of the culture space becoming high rises. Because it's great to say, well, I'm going to open a venue, but where are you going to do it? If all of the places that are affordable to do it are worth more as high rises, and the city continues to green light all that, then it's just a race against time.
You're right.
Yeah. So
nothing to add to that.
Well, no. So as a community, we have to say, okay, well, wait a minute, all of these things can happen simultaneously, right? Like there has to be a way to negotiate that, to make that all work, because the people who are going to live in the core also need the culture. Like they also need stuff to do. Otherwise, they're not going to want to live in the core. You're
right. And it's like, do we value this or do we not value? Like we have to sort of look at our values as a community, as a city.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's some work to do. And there's opportunity in all of it.
I think so too.
Yeah, 100%. what got you doing the podcast? What was that
another odyssey. I learned very quickly that there's a phenomenon called the tour come down.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this? Have you heard this before?
No.
The tour come down. So what happens is you go on tour and you go and play for X number of weeks and you live what I describe as an accelerated life. It's way up here, man. It's all adrenaline. It's all novelty. It's fun. You're living the dream, right? So you're out there playing shows and like particularly like being in Europe with Sarah, like you're doing it. You're doing the thing, man. You're touring, you're playing, you're in the van. It's like I sent you a bunch of photos that you probably scratched your head about. It's just like pictures out a van window of some German landscape. It's like, well, that's actually what touring is. 90% of what you see is that outside the van window. You know what I mean? And that's not for everybody, by the way. Road life is not for everyone. But for those of us for whom it is, nothing beats it, man. I'm not going to name drop, but a couple weeks ago, I was at the airport in Toronto watching the Jays game, waiting for a connection. And I was messaging with a friend of mine who's an actual touring drummer. He plays with a very prominent artist who people would know. And they're on the road right now. And so I was just messaging him because one of this artist's songs was playing in the airport. Mm. So I messaged him like, "Hey, dude, you won't believe who's on the Muzak." And they were in Chicago. I'm like, how's the tour going? How's everything? He's like, yeah, it's getting to be a pretty long run for an old guy like me. He's around my age. I said, there's nothing better and you know it. And he agreed. Yeah. All right. And he's touring at a much higher level than I ever have. But even at my little level, looking at waking up in a new town every day, going and playing a show, and people are like in Europe in particular, people come. Like there's still a live music, go out on the weekend culture. They're not as much a Netflix culture as we are. So it's like they never even heard of us. Who are we? We're nobody from Canada. And places would be packed out on a Friday night, the local pub, And man, that's an energy to live in. Mm. It's so exciting. It's so novel. It's so cool. And if you love it, man. And for 6 weeks, you get to indulge this idea that you're actually doing the thing and you're making a little bit of money. And this is amazing. And there's just a momentum and a vibe in that's really great. And then it's over. And then you come home and you sit down and you clean out your cat's litter box and you go, what happened? Yesterday I was a rock star, man, up to a point. And today I'm schmucky again. I'm nobody. What happened to my life I was leading? And what can follow hard upon that is depression. Mm. A lot of musicians will tell you this. Coming off the road is very tough to do because you're living the dream. You're sort of loved everywhere you go. Everybody wants your autograph. Even me. People wanted my autograph. Can you imagine? But they did. And it's like, wow, this is living, man. This is cool. Getting up and doing the thing every day. It's fantastic. And then it's over. And then you're like, well, now what? Oh, there's bills. Oh, yeah. I don't have any gigs lined up because I couldn't because I was on the road. And then a panic sets in for what am I going to do? And a depression sets in for life was great yesterday and now reality's back. Mm. And as a hired player, you are dependent upon people to hire you to play. This is one of the things you trade when you're not a band guy anymore.
That's right.
It's like, okay, you're going to get paid, but you're going to depend on people to hire you. And if things are slow, you're in trouble. I would find myself in trouble. So I'd come off these tours, be like, terrific, great. Oh no, it's too quiet now. Mm. What am I going to do? And so it's like, I need something that's mine. Mm. I just needed a project that was mine. I'm not a prolific writer of songs, so starting my own band was still kind of on my radar, but it's not going to be a thing that's easy for me to do. And so I was like, I need something else that's mine. I shut down the Groove Machine blog because it just became too much for not enough return on investment. And it was like 2019. I'd come off the Sarah tour at the end of 2018. Things were very quiet. Depression settled in, fear about the future. It's like, am I ever going to be able to do that again? Because reality is reality, and money is money, and bills are bills. And can I sustain this? No, but I'm going to pretend for a little while longer. And I need something to occupy this energy. Everything is just energy, right? It was a bad feeling energy. I'm off the road. I don't have enough gigs. I'm worried about money. Who am I now? A second ago, I was the drummer for Sarah Smith, and now I'm not. I need something that's mine, that doesn't depend on somebody to hire me, from which I cannot be let go, because it doesn't matter how good you are. Every musician who's a hired gun has had that experience, myself included. And it's like, I need something I can depend on, actually. I need a project that's mine. And so I had been thinking about podcasting for a long time, because I'm a big fan of podcasts. I really like them. And I, for many years, had thought about it. But just like, having done the blog, having done other things, it's like, I know this is going to be way more work than I think it is, you know? And it's like, do I have it in me? Do I have the strength to do this? Because it's going to be a lot. And is it going to be one of those things where I really enjoy starting things? I'm sometimes not great at maintaining things. Sure. I like the starting process, like naming it and getting it off the ground. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to actually do it now. I just wanted to start it, you know?
I get that.
So it's like I was holding myself back because it's going to be one of those. Anyway, point came where I'm in a depression. I'm frustrated. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Guess I'll start the podcast. That was 2019. And it gave me something to invest myself in. Sure. I'm a starter of things. So I got to, if nothing else, I got to shift out of I'm depressed because I'm off the road, tour come down, into I'm starting something. There's much better energy in that.
Sure. Of course.
And as I tend to do, I kind of jumped in with both feet without much of a plan. That's just kind of how I roll. And so I launched what I called at the time the John Huff podcast, because what else would you call it? And I thought it would be an interview show. I had always done interviews as a blogger, as whatever. I'd done hundreds of interviews. It's like, oh, I'll interview people. Okay, terrific. Who am I going to model this on? Mark Maron, I guess. Joe Rogan, I guess. We'll do something like that. So my first guest was Phoenix Fire. Do you know Phoenix Fire?
No.
Known to most of you in the viewing audience is Chris Campbell. He's
Chris Campbell.
Yeah. Phoenix Fire is his stage name.
Oh.
The Thrill Show guy who's got Guinness World Records for having things stapled to him and stuff like that. You know, my new trick is I'm going to jump into razor blades. That guy, perfect. I wanted to, right?
It's awesome.
One of my motivations was I want this show at the time I wanted to interview people who were living the dream, people who were proof that it's possible to do that. Because what I was running into was being able to see it from where I was and then going on tour and feeling as though I was doing it and then having the come down. It's like, no, I need evidence. I need evidence that people, you can actually do this. It's possible. So partly it was for me, partly it was inspiration for whoever was listening. Sure. Let's start with Razor Blade Guy. And Chris gave me an interview I was not expecting.
Oh, I can imagine.
And he went to places he wasn't expecting to go.
Oh, really?
About his childhood and some of the rough stuff he went through and how that's one of the reasons he does what he does now. Is just a sort of, as a reaction to some of the stuff he went through. It's like, no, I'm stronger than you think I am. Watch. Jump into razor blades. You know what I mean? He gave me a deep, fascinating interview I was not expecting. It was terrific. And it being terrific had nothing to do with me and everything to do with Chris Campbell. What a story he is and continues to be. And so that was the first episode. It's like, whoa, I bottled lightning there. That was lucky. And then I just started interviewing my friends because I got friends who are doing it. Deni Gauthier was doing it, and I have no other people from the industry. And so I interviewed a lot of musicians, and those were kind of the first core episodes. Folks I know, my dear friend Sarah McDougall, who's a fantastic singer-songwriter, others who I've met along the way, and we're keen to jump on and do it, right? I had help from a lot of people. There was a very steep tech curve for me. I'm not technically minded whatsoever. So being able to capture audio, edit audio, get a reasonably good sounding program.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. The podcast is an audio podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I'm the rare person in the music scene who didn't go to MIA at Fanshawe. I don't know how to do any of that. So I relied upon Deni Gauthier, who is a music producer, to help me with the sound. Seamus Evely, who some people may know, helped me enormously. He was at one point the host of the Drumeo Gab podcast.
Oh, wow.
Terrific podcast that he ran for a while. He helped me. Like, people helped me. And I've been very deliberate about helping other people subsequently get their shows off the ground, paying it forward. But anyways, so I interviewed a bunch of my friends who I just knew were in the industry and doing it, and were the proof that it's possible to do that. And then once you get a few shows behind you, you have a track record, you can start pitching to other people. And so I began to pull in to my mind, some pretty damn high profile people. You know, at one point along the way, I met a girl called Sarah Tomek. Sarah Tomek is best known as the drummer in Steven Tyler's touring band.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Sarah, you want to come on my podcast? Sure. So she comes on and she's talking about driving Steven Tyler's Rolls Royce around Hollywood. You know what I mean? I began to interview some people who are at a level, and it's like, this is really cool, man. And then at a certain point, though, I began to pay more attention to podcasts, and I'm like, everybody's doing interview podcasts. And actually, as a podcast listener, I don't listen to a lot of interviews. I actually really prefer solo single voice podcasts. I think it's the legacy of church for me.
Okay.
Because I grew up twice every Sunday listening to somebody preach, but, you know, fundamentally somebody speak. You know, I have a real thing about articulate, intelligent people talking about stuff that interests them. You know, whether I'm interested in that or not, I'm really drawn in by a speaker. And the podcasts I listen to are podcasts with people speaking. They don't tend to be interview podcasts. So I was like, I want to try that. And I was having trouble booking guests at a certain point. You know, booking guests is a full-time job all in its own. You would know that. It's a lot of work to get somebody on board, to agree a time, and then they flake on you, and it's like, it's a pain. And I was struggling at a certain point. It's like, we're going to try a solo episode. Could try one. Long story short, I have published, I think, 243 or 244 episodes of what is now Semi-Eloquent with John Huff, and now exclusively a solo podcast. So there's been this long evolution of going from a mix of both into just 100% solo podcasting. That was 100% me trying to outwit the tour come down, which is a heavy-duty crash, and any touring musician will tell you that exists. I would come home from the road and Sarah and Ken would have 20 gigs booked, right? But I wasn't on those gigs. You know, Bobby was on those gigs, or they were duo gigs or whatever. It's like, I was somewhat peripheral to her circle. I did those fill-in gigs that, whatever, I wouldn't have the gigs and they would. So they could come home and hit the ground running. Terrific.
Sure.
I didn't have that kind of connection going at that point in time. So the podcast started for that reason. I need the project that's mine. I didn't think 6 years later I'd still be making this thing. Yet I persist.
Is there anything that you really like about it? Is there something that keeps driving you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, when I was writing, there was a famous quote by I forget who said it. It said, I don't enjoy writing, but I enjoy having written. Right? So sometimes it's like, not sure I enjoy podcasting, but I enjoy having podcasted. I like the final product, you know?
Yeah.
There's something about it. And it's it's funny because it opens doors in a weird way. Like I've been the guest now on several podcasts telling my story, and I enjoy telling my story because I do want to inspire people who think they're not good enough, who are afraid to do stuff. I just kind of want to be the living proof that it's possible to do things that you don't think you can. So I enjoy the opportunity to tell my story, and having a podcast has been able to get me onto other people's shows. It's opened a lot of doors for me, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think I like hearing myself talk.
Yeah, well, it's funny. When I first started this show, because those of people out there that know me really well, they know that I like to talk, and I knew that was going to be one of the things on this show that I was going to struggle with. Right, was like
it's hard to be the host.
Yeah, it's hard to not. So like earlier when you're like, so I've been talking a lot. What do you got to? And then I sort of, I can do a little ramble. but I, over if you watch the show from the beginning to now, you'll see that, I've sort of had to, over time, sort of taper myself to hold back a little bit, obviously, from what I would normally do if I was in the showroom, like talking to a customer or something.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm just passionate. That's what it comes down to. I'm just really passionate, and it just comes across. Sometimes can come across like, oh, this guy's talking my head off. But the older I get now, I catch myself. I'm like, oh, sorry, I talked your head off there.
I'm not going to stop doing it, but I'm going to acknowledge that I know I did.
Yeah,
it's everything is an evolution, right? Like I struggle to listen to my older episodes, right? Like I didn't catch my idiom until probably 50 episodes into this thing.
Okay, yeah.
I leave the early episodes up because the interviews were terrific. That's not me. That's the people who came on the show and told their story. I want those to remain accessible. I have to cringe about me, especially the early solo episodes. It took me a while to catch my style of doing things. But you can't catch your style of doing things without going through that process, right?
Yeah.
You can't. It's very rare to hear a podcast that's fully realized when it launches. There are a couple, but most of us have to go through this process of being lousy at it for a while. And it's like you have to push through that. Hard for me to do, but I did it. And I think now I'm at least better at it than I was. Some people enjoy my podcast and some people just haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, well, but they will after this show.
I hope so. And I hope they're not disappointed.
No, certainly not. You mentioned Joe Rogan. I mean, if he's a classic example of what you're talking about, right? Where his first episodes were like just him in his basement.
Yeah, just chaos, right?
Just literally chaos.
Yeah.
And then he's said it on his show many times, it's like, this isn't what I envisioned. This is amazing now compared to he's like, when we started, we were just hanging out.
It was the Wild West in those days, right?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Nobody, no idea. This show for me, I came up with because I wanted to contribute. I wanted to have a voice, and I did for a while. We had some different committees in town and stuff, and we were doing some stuff, and then I had this idea. I said, I really would like to inspire people. I'd really like to start, getting people together. And then when the pandemic hit, coming out of that, there was this, I noticed how everything was kind of siloed, the community wasn't really a community as much anymore. Right. And I thought, okay, well, maybe if I bring people in and I bring people on the show that, aren't the big superstars, but I bring everybody in. I bring in people from radio, from touring, sound technicians, publicists, managers, venue owners, DJs, everybody, bring everybody in so that, whoever's out there, young or old, can meet these people, get to know their life, get to know their journey, and hopefully get inspired.
Everybody has a story, man.
Well, yeah, and I that was the original thing. And then what pushed it over the edge for me was Miles from April Wine.
Oh wow,
was in town doing a thing for a friend of mine. Had him in town doing a show here. It was like an intimate, show where he talked and played, and I couldn't make the show, but one of the guys from here who lives nearby the venue, went to the show, and came back and told me it was it was really wild. It was it was a good thing, but you could tell he was struggling. And
Really?
and then it was shortly after that where Miles passed away, and me and it was Boris actually who was working here at the time. It was Boris and I, and Boris had gone to the show, and he was in the showroom, and we were talking about it, and it was in and amongst what we were talking about. I thought, wow, okay, so I never got to interview Miles, and now anything that we could have gotten out there in terms of his journey and his stories and all that stuff, is just gone.
It's gone, yeah.
And there was something that I talked about all through COVID, and I sort of found this sort of light in the sky, if you want to call it that, during that period of time where I was doing a lot of research and a lot of soul searching, and I found this thing called tribal knowledge, and I realized how even my generation, but certainly the younger ones, we value the knowledge and the experience less of the people who came before us than generations previous to us.
We don't really have elders anymore
because we have access to this thing that gives us all the information.
Yeah.
So it changed our perception of the value of that. Something as simple as like a recipe, like your grandmother's recipe for something, that you would learn because you didn't want that to go away. Right. But it's like, oh, well, I'll just go online and I'll Google one, and so I started to come to this epiphany during the pandemic. I'm like, oh, wow. Like this stuff is literally going to go away. And then, so, fast forward to when Miles passed, I went, oh man, this is not okay. Like somebody's got to be documenting all this stuff, and somebody's got to be using this to inspire the current and next generation of this community. Otherwise, we're going to be in serious trouble. And so that's the reason why I started. And
that's great.
We'll see where it goes.
No, that's great. I mean, until the last 20 years, we have been very much an oral storytelling culture. That's how knowledge is passed down, right?
Yeah.
People are dying with their music in them, and so you are giving people a platform to share that music, which is fantastic and necessary. 100% is, so good for you. What
are some of the things on your podcast? What are some of the things that you talk about?
Yeah, I never know from week to week what it's going to be. The baseline is it's positive talk.
Okay, well, that's good.
That's right in my description. Positive talk. Because there's so much negativity.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much negative in the world, and you don't have to look far to find it. And if I indulged in some of that negativity too, I'd probably have a lot higher ratings, frankly, or politics or whatever. And so the bottom line is whatever I'm talking about, I have to be positive about it. Sure. So I talk a lot about music, which is not an easy thing to do because you can't really play music on the podcast without running into archaic copyright laws. But I don't talk about stuff I don't like, right? So if I'm talking about music, it's something I like, as an example.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot of, I tell road stories, but I really want the show, much like your show, I want the show to inspire. So I talk about a lot of stuff that I maybe shouldn't, stuff that is about fear, stuff that I've talked to you about stage fright I've had, or attachment I've had, or the ways that I've screwed it up along the way. I tend to be pretty open about that. And so I talk, sometimes I'll just sit down and talk about some concept in spirituality that I've encountered. Some of it gets weird. And then some of it's about a TV show that I saw. You know what I mean? It depends. This week I talked about a couple of artists that I've uncovered in the last little while. And it's like, let's talk about that.
Cool.
A few episodes ago, I talked about pickleball. Because I'm an avid pickleball player.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's cool.
There are a lot of compelling life lessons that can be pulled from the game of pickleball, you know? So it's like, it's very much all over the place, which if you follow the kind of best practices of podcasting is exactly what you're not supposed to do. I'm supposed to niche into nothing but small business tips and marketing. I'm not interested in either of those things. So I talk about whatever happens to be interesting to me this week. And I publish every Wednesday morning. And sometimes on Tuesday night, I'm panicking because I got nothing, man. And then something comes along. Now I'll pick up some weird little life lesson like I did at a car wash a few weeks ago. It's like, oh, bang. Let's talk about that. You know, it's a lot of personal development stuff because I'm personally developing. The last 15 years in music has, as I said, been a crucible. So I talk a lot about the stuff I've learned from music about being a musician, but also about living a better life. You know, I really want the show to inspire people. I really want it to be something that they can come to and say, I feel better after having listened to that, you know? It can use more direction, probably.
No, I mean, but being a positive show is a great thing because you're right. There's no lack of negativity in the world. It's everywhere,
and it sells, man. It sells hard.
It does, yeah. But I'm full up on it. I'll be honest with you. Like I'm a big podcast guy too. But there's a couple of podcasts that I used to listen to religiously that I struggle to even turn on now. Because it's just too, it's gotten to the point where it's just too negative. Yeah,
it's way too political, way too something. What do you listen to? What are your favorites?
Well, I listen to Rogan. Okay. I do. You know, but I don't listen to every episode. You know, I listen.
That's
to the
an
ones,
investment.
I listen
That's a lot.
Well, yeah, no, but I listen to the ones I like. You know, like certain people that I know I'm going to like, or certain topics that I know I'm going to like. But it's different, right? Because he's a different cat. Like he brings on people from all different spectrums, and
he does,
and he does a great job of letting them do their thing. But at the same time, they talk about things that are not necessarily even in their wheelhouse. Like he could have an aerospace scientist on, but they end up talking about music, and they talk about other things, right? So you never fully know by reading the title what you're going to get. Which I kind of like, in a sense. I like to see where it goes, right? And it's long format like this, so it is an investment. But thankfully, I have a very loving and understanding wife. She allows me to work at night after she goes to bed. Yeah, and so I just throw it on and work away.
It's a great thing about podcasts. It can be really useful background music. You know?
Yeah,
I get it. I know you're not always paying full attention to what I'm saying, but you're driving, you're doing whatever, but
yeah. So that's one of them for sure. And then the other one that I was listening to at one point was PBD, Patrick Bet-David.
No, I don't know that
one. He's in the financial investment side, but that's not necessarily what he talks about at all. It's a very political podcast, and talks about a lot of he basically starts off the show by saying, what's in the news today. And it's definitely a center right leaning show. Okay. But he has guys from the left on the show. So you get both sides. Which is rare. And he brings guests on from both sides. Mm-hmm. And he does an incredible job of staying as neutral as he can to let them be themselves and get out what they have to say. And that's important to me because that's who I am as a host too. I it doesn't matter who you are, what everybody's opinion is valid. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a journey. Everybody has a story to tell, like you said, and I think that it's important to hear everybody out and see both sides of everything, and that's how I was through the whole pandemic too. So a lot of times, but I struggle to listen to PBD right now because they're talking a lot about the wars, and they're talking a lot about some of the stuff that I get it. I was listening for a little while, but at some point it just becomes too much.
Yeah. You have this fine line between being informed and being overwhelmed. Like it's like you should know what's going on in the world. If you can find a news source you actually trust to be giving you fair and balanced news, they exist.
Yeah.
It's like I think you have an obligation as an adult and as a citizen to have a sense of what's going on, but it's very easy to get just dragged down the rabbit hole, right?
Yes.
It's like you need to be able to protect yourself because negativity sells. That's why there's so much of it. You know, that's the old news adage, if it bleeds, it leads, man. So it's very easy to become just completely wrapped up in negative news, fearful news, angry news, because it's everywhere, because we're biologically conditioned to pay attention to that. So people exploit it to the max. You have to have a certain level of discernment to know when you've got the information without getting tipped into the emotion. It's hard to do. It's not easy to do, and it's everywhere all the time, right?
Yeah,
you've got the phone in your hand. You are inundated. So I don't know. My podcast is to a certain extent an antidote. At least for 45 minutes or so, you'll get me talking about something that's not necessarily less heavy, but less angry. Maybe.
Yeah.
Less negative. Well, I talk about heavy stuff, but
for sure. But I think behind it all, still you're rooted in that sort of music culture, right? Because you've done that now.
Well, it's all through the frame of my experience.
That's right.
Most of which is music.
Yeah. And you know, those were positive experiences for you.
Mostly.
For the most part. Well, especially in the last 15 years.
The negative ones, I've had to take some responsibility for, and I've had to take some lessons from. You can learn from everything, right?
And I was just going to say, and you've learned from that.
Absolutely.
So there is some positive sort of outcome that comes from that.
It's made me a better drummer. It's made me a better band member. It's made me a better side player and a better person to go through some of those things.
Mm.
You know?
What's the difference between, in your opinion, sort of, because there's being a session player and then there's being a side player, right?
Yeah.
Like these are, is that a thing? Like, is there side players that become session players? And
oh, absolutely. I think they're two parts of the same coin. You know, in my view, a side player is anybody who's getting hired to play, whether that's in the studio or whether that's on the road.
Sure,
you're a side player. A session musician just tends to be reserved for people who are in studios recording, but it's all being a hired gun, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So there's really terrific perks to that. Getting paid is fantastic. Mm. And you're not responsible for anything, really. For the most part, you have obligations, but you don't have to book the shows. You don't have to tour manage, anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
You get paid as long as you don't screw it up and you're a good hang, and you learn what that means as you go. And the flip side of it is, if there's a lot of money to be made, you probably don't make it. The artist does. Fair. And your name's not on the poster. And you are, I don't mean this to sound harsh or negative, but you're pretty disposable, actually. Mm. Have you seen the Hired Guns documentary?
Yes, I have seen it, yeah.
All right, these are for real hired guns, okay? I'm a Friday night bar guy. These are for real guys. They're playing arenas with folks. And the stories they tell about their dismissal for no good reason whatsoever is stunning, man. It's a rough business. It can be a rough business, you know. Some people get very lucky and they find their way into a 20-year act, and it's one big family and everything's terrific. Other people find out on the radio that morning that they lost the gig they've had. Like, what? Nobody even called me. You know what I mean? So being a hired gun is not for the faint of heart, you know. And I mean, I'm working at a low level here, you know, Sprinter van touring. We're talking people who are on buses, people who are playing at the very highest level. And even for them though, it's like, it's rough, man. It's tough. And it's getting tougher because tours are becoming so expensive now that maybe the pay is not there, or maybe an artist can't afford to take out a full band like they used to. And it's like a lot of people lose the drummer gig because the artist ain't taking a drummer this time. Can't afford one. You know what I mean? So people who are,
is that where tracks come in? Like what ends up happening?
Oh, well, that happens too. Yeah. But it's just like, oh, well, no, we're going to do solo acoustic this time. Sorry, folks. You know,
okay.
I know somebody who was playing bass with a very high profile Canadian artist who would normally be taking a full band on the road. and just kind of got the call. No, it's off. I'm just going to go solo this time. So it's like, well,
Wow.
geez, I had 6 months of work booked that is now off, and all the gigs I might have got from other people, they didn't call me because I'm booked with that person. So they went and booked somebody else. It's like my year's shot. It's very precarious for some people.
Now, is that because the cost? Is that just because the cost of touring has gone up?
Oh, I don't think so.
Or is it because someone's trying to put more money in their pocket and it's just they can get away with not having a band?
I'm sure.
Not the artist necessarily. I'm saying even
Oh, it could be.
labels, management, whatever.
Who knows? All of the reasons have probably existed in some scenario.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of times I would suspect these days, a lot of the times it's the numbers don't add up. We can't do it.
Yeah, okay.
Can't afford the band, can't afford the bus, can't afford this, can't afford that. It's like, no, we have to do it this way. Sometimes it's just the artist just feels like doing it solo this time.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
And
that's a certain vibe that I think you'd get in the conversation, right? Like,
I would hope so.
yeah, you would hope so, especially if it's somebody that you knew well enough. But yeah, the cost of touring's gone way up, and the cost of everything's gone up. I can speak from our standpoint. We have a tour bus, actually. My dad does. But the cost of everything. I was looking the other day. It was a Vox amp. Yeah, there's a Vox amp, and I was looking at ordering some from my supplier, and I happened to click on the purchase order system, and I just thought, hey, I'm going to go see what we bought them for last time.
Yeah,
and I could see within one window all of the purchase orders, and if I went back to just before the pandemic, I was now buying it for what I used to sell it for.
no kidding. Wow.
In that short of a period of time.
Yeah.
Right? No joke. And so that's a huge shift. Like,
Yeah.
in our industry, we've seen shifts, definitely. Things go up, and, we've had price list changes. I know in the drum world, our drum manager, Derek, every time there's an increase in cymbal prices, he just about hits the ceiling because the cost of cymbals now is insanity.
Yes, it is.
And so,
I haven't bought one in a long time. Thank God I don't break them.
yeah, because, cymbals that used to be a couple $100 are now $500-$600.
Yeah,
And it's like, that's actually, like, if you look at the percentages there, like, it's a 200% climb in no time.
Yeah.
So, the challenge is that people that come in here, they've been playing for a while, that kind of have an idea on the used market, or at least the former new market that haven't bought in a while. They come in here and go, how much is this AAX? And they just about fall over when they find out because there's been 8 price list changes in the last 3 years.
Right.
And that's, again, that's not necessarily on the manufacturer. I know that it was global news for a period of time there where the cost of shipping was literally through the roof.
Especially through the pandemic.
Yeah. And it's come down, but other things have happened, right? So it's come down, but there's not as many companies out there, and they're not being as lean as they used to be. Like, there used to be more competition. I used to get calls all the time from shipping companies to compete for each other's business.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Pure Later would call me and go, hey, how much business are you doing? I'd love to get your business. And then, somebody else would call, another company would call, and they were all fighting for that business.
Yeah.
That's been gone.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. That's been gone for 5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. That's not happening anymore.
Huh.
I'm lucky to even have a rep. I'm lucky. I used to have a rep. I used to be able to get on a phone and call and talk to a rep. There's only a couple of companies now that have reps, like active sales reps that are external reps. Most of the reps are internal, and you never hear from them if you have one, and you have to be doing enough business to even have one now. Wow. So they're cutting corners all over the place in the shipping world. So that's affecting a lot of it too. Are the tariffs affecting things? Absolutely. But I have a unique perspective on the tariff thing.
Okay.
Before the current president of the United States had his first term, I saw a time where we had too much, way too much. We had way too many brands of studio monitors, way too many brands of interfaces, way too many brands of microphones. And it was coming out of There was a brand, based out of Germany, manufactured in China, starts with a B. Who could it be? That sort of changed the industry. And, all of a sudden, brands like Mackie and Soundcraft and all these brands felt like they had to compete.
Yeah.
And they started lowering the quality and size of their products.
Right.
And they competed fairly successfully to the point where now they're still around and the other company is still around, but not doing as well as what they once did. And so good on them. But in the meantime, the quality of everything got kicked to the curb.
Right.
And so that's what it is. But we ended up with everyone feeling like they had to do that. And it became very easy for other people who weren't even in the game to get in the game by just doing OEM, contacting a factory. Hey, I want to put my brand on something.
Right.
And so next thing you know, you have these brands of studio monitors that you've never heard of. I would go down to NAMM in LA and I'd walk into these booths and go, oh, another studio monitor line. Like, that's what I need. And so there was too much. And I knew at that time I could see it coming because, we're expected as a retailer to carry all these brands.
Sure.
And there's only so much you can sell. And so I said at that time, I was like, you know what, there's too much. We're going to hit a point of critical mass.
Sure.
And it's going to go the other way. And that's what's happened.
So it's shrinking now.
So now it's gone the other way.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing brands getting bought out, left, right, and center. You're seeing stores like Sam Ash in the US are gone. 100-year-old company,
Amazing.
Boom, gone.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going back to the old school. You're seeing the vintage stores and the boutique stores, kind of like us, like London Guitars. There's a bunch in the US. You're seeing them do well still, right? Maintain at the very least and do well in this economy because they're able to be lean. Whereas some of the larger people who weren't prepared for what was coming for this sort of come down as you said earlier,
the retail come down.
Yeah, the retail. Well, and it's a thing, and especially post pandemic.
Yeah.
There was the most amount of guitars ever sold in human history during the pandemic.
Nobody had anything to do.
And then all of a sudden, all these companies ramped up for this volume.
Sure.
Now what's going to happen? All of a sudden, things opened up. And the next thing you know, there's a well-known guitar company that ended up having to lease 2 massive warehouses.
Unreal.
Non-humidified.
Oh, no.
And those guitars sat for 4 seasons. So we were getting guitars shipped to us that you physically couldn't even touch the neck. The frets were so sharp, you couldn't physically touch it, let alone play it.
Oh, man.
And so we basically just started opening up every single guitar.
Yeah.
And making sure that every guitar was mint and playable. And that helped us actually get a reputation for, hey, this guitar is great.
Right.
And we don't know what else is happening out there, whether other people are doing it or not. But we just felt it was important for our customers when they got a guitar from us for that to be a thing. And so it's a very expensive process for me to do that, especially for a $200 acoustic or electric.
Like, is it worth it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, it is. And so these are some of the things that we've done to grow our business and maintain ourselves. But in all of that is that it was too much. There was too many retailers, too many manufacturers, too many models, too many brands. And when we started coming down, one of the manufacturers said to me, what should we do? And I said, start cutting lines, start cutting series of guitars, right? You have too many series and you have too many colors. You can't expect us to carry it all.
Yeah, I see.
So start eliminating that. And they still are. That brand is still eliminating. I got an email today. They're going to be eliminating another series.
Wow.
And they're putting it on sale right now. And so this is a good thing. Some people would see it as a bad thing, but it's not. It's a good thing because there was too much.
Too much. There
was too much before the pandemic, and there's still almost too much now. And it's because, the stuff isn't really breaking, right? Like the stuff, even though somewhat affordable, it's still being made pretty well.
Okay.
And especially something like guitars and drums, people maintain it. They buy the parts, they fix it. They do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. And in the case that they don't, it probably just doesn't have any sentimental value and it's just not worth doing.
It's not.
So, but how does that bridge over now to touring in the industry? Well, I mean, it's the same with almost all of the various tools that are used to put these shows on. It doesn't matter what part of those tools it is, but it's all the same thing. We got to a point where there was just too much.
Yeah.
And then it all crashed during the pandemic. And then all that's left is whoever held on. And I know when we came back, we have a guitar tech who works here, Bungie. And I remember everybody wanted to go on the road. Everybody was like, oh yeah, let's go play. Well, he normally would do guitars for 2 or 3 different acts at any given time.
Yeah.
But they all want to go out at the same time.
Right.
But so only one of them can have them.
That's right. Yeah.
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 So that kind of effect has happened with a lot of things, because you went from having an abundance to all of a sudden the correction, I call it. And now we have to figure out how we all function in that correction, right? How you continue to profit and make money, because you can't do it with this old business model that some of these companies had.
It's not the same world.
No.
Yeah.
No. So you have to pivot. You have to figure out what that world looks like in the correction, I call it. And I think the tariffs, getting back to my original point, I think that the tariffs were something that I was asking for before, because I think that was, at the time I knew, I was like, you know what, that's how we're going to start this correction, right? That's how we're going to stop all this really not so great product from entering the market and allow some of these, North American manufacturers to maintain this high quality product that we love selling. And it's not to say that products from other places in the world aren't great. They are great. In fact, there's some of the best guitars we put our hands on in here come from brands that manufacture in all kinds of different places, Indonesia and all over. So yeah, but I think that we were at a point back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, we were at a point where something needed to happen. There needed to be a correction. And part of that correction needed to be some way for it to become a more equal playing field. Otherwise, again, all these businesses who were the consumers, essentially the middlemen of this manufacturing that was going on and this consumption, could not afford to exist anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that all feeds, again, as tools of the music industry and touring industry.
It's all connected.
It all connects, right? Yeah. So that's my world, and I can comment on it as a result. But that was all happening long before the current president's first term, long before the tariffs started. But I knew that there had to be a correction. I could see it coming. We were at critical mass, and there was too much of everything. And I think that now what we're seeing, fast forward, is we're in the midst of the correction now, and I don't know where it's going to go. It all depends on how everybody manages it.
It's hard to position yourself when you don't know where it's going to go. And,
totally.
Economic policy has, shall we say, been somewhat erratic this year.
Definitely.
And it's hard to know, just when you wake up every day, what's it going to be today? So it's like, I would suspect in your position, it can be a little bit dicey at times, but
I stay focused on on my core values. And
that's what you have to do ultimately.
And I stay as informed as I can be. I don't go, like you said, too emotionally into it. I get the data, and I go, okay, what am I going to do with that data? Is it important to me? Is it important to what I'm doing, the mission? What where I'm going? And if it's not, let it go,
right,
and move on, and just stay the course. And I think that that's what a lot of people have to do.
It's hard to be discerning enough to know where the line is with that, but you're absolutely right, because we'll all go nuts. It's very easy to go nuts.
Well,
if you get emotionally invested,
there's never been a better time to listen to your gut than now.
It's really the only thing you can rely on, because everything else is a whirlwind, right? So. Are you in touch with your gut? That's the question.
Well, and that's a whole other podcast that we could do about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing though. It's like, do you trust your instincts, especially when it seems like it goes against the grain or what's logical? I don't know. Good question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to surround yourself with great people. It's important to surround yourself with people who are optimistic and positive about the world.
Yes.
All of these things are important. And that's another reason why I love coming on this show with people is to meet them, hear their stories and journeys, but also to connect.
Yeah.
And to try to, be positive in this world of negativity and chaos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be in the music business, you have to maintain at least a little pearl of optimism. The odds are, even at the best of times, the odds are stacked against you. So to be in it at all is to be on some level optimistic, I think.
Well, you used the word hope earlier in the show, right?
Did I? I use that word a lot.
Yeah. But they say that hope is the last thing you lose, right?
The hope that kills you is the other thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's an interesting time that we're in. What do you think about the current music scene? You commented on it earlier when you were talking about the Palisade.
Oh yeah, dude, I've seen just locally. I've seen some terrific young bands.
Yeah.
Terrific young, like people who are already so comfortable. Maybe it's the ignorance of youth. I don't know. But people are so good on stage, so comfortable. They're writing original music, out there playing. That never goes away. I mean, it's the same kids were doing it in the 70s that are doing it now, They're just the modern version. And I think people, we talked about having access to too much information as being a bad thing, but the reality is these kids have access to a lot of information, and some of them are using it, right? They're recording their own music on their computer at home because they can. It's not a luxury I had when I was 16.
Totally.
And they have this opportunity to make really good recordings on their own. They don't have to need studio time even in a lot of cases. And then put it out into the world. Wow. For all of the evils that the kind of digital age has brought us, that's pretty cool. I mean, a band can make its own music and get it in front of people much easier than they ever could before.
Yes.
The other side of that is that there's way more noise to wade through now, but it's like the opportunity exists. Like there's never been more opportunity than there is right now. And so I go out into the world and I see kids who are taking advantage of that. Terrific. Good for them. People are monster players too. Monsters. Crazy. I get annoyed every time somebody sends me a video of some 9-year-old drum prodigy. Like I want to see that. You know what I mean? People think I'm impressed. I'm not impressed. That's another kid I got to eliminate somehow. You know what I mean? But it's like there's no denying the ability and the talent that is existing out there, even in this community. I've gone to shows where it's very clear that the people in that band are in high school and all their high school friends came and they're crushing it. The level of talent has never been higher, I don't think. And okay, cool. Good for them. I'm never going to play with any of them because I'm like, I was about to say their dad's age. I'm sneaking up on their grandpa's age at this point.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
I know. I was out last week, like I said, and I felt the same. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I walked into that coffee shop and there was a 13-year-old boy playing. And that made me feel especially old. I was like, oh, okay.
They're good though, aren't they?
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody in the room was like, 2 to 3 times his age, and at least
he's killing,
and he was killing it.
And he's got access to so much information about how to play guitar, how to sing, how to whatever. It's stuff that we didn't have. That's the luxury, the silver lining about this period of time is that the information is there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to wade through a lot of crap to get to it, but it's very obvious that people are wading through that crap. And you can take online lessons now with anybody in the world. When I was growing up in Owen Sound, Ontario, I think there was one guy teaching drums. I can now, if I want to, schedule with Tommy Igo if I wanted online, or, you know, Dave Elich, like the highest level teachers on planet Earth, I can access now.
That's wild, eh?
Cost a bit of money, but it's possible to do. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
these kids today have a treasure trove of stuff. But it goes back to the very beginning of this conversation. It's like you can get overwhelmed by how much stuff there is, though, to learn. And what do you actually need to know? And it's like you can get confused on that. But the current state of the music industry, at least locally, with the kids I see playing, are dynamite. The whole AI thing is a whole other kettle of fish, though. And
Yeah.
I had a friend, I actually talked about it on this week's podcast, a friend of mine who's been messing around with one of the AI apps to generate music, played me a couple of the songs that he generated, and it was very disheartening
Yep.
because it was
I get that.
good, it was credible, it was, I wouldn't have been able to tell at all that it was AI.
I know.
If he didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known.
I know. I get it.
And that's, I just, my heart already bleeds for the people I know who have been 20 years trying to be songwriters, trying to build careers that way. And then all of a sudden, some dude with a free app can bang out a record. I saw a stat today that it was Deezer or some other whatever, like they're getting something like 50,000 pieces of AI created music a day or something being
Wow.
submitted.
Crazy.
Don't quote me,
No,
but it was
yeah.
something to that effect.
Sure.
I saw a thing recently which really annoyed me, is that there's this company in the States that's creating AI generated podcasts. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have a whole collection of AI hosts that they've created, producing AI podcasts, 100% AI voice, AI script. And they're flooding the market with something to the effect of 3,000 podcast episodes a week or a month of completely 100% AI. So there's me fighting tooth and nail for every new listener, quite literally.
No doubt.
Now I'm competing against 3,000 new shows every week that are not even real. And now it's music too. What is it? The number one country song is an AI song,
I know.
apparently.
I
I
saw
haven't
that.
heard it. But it's like,
Yeah.
that's really disheartening. It's discouraging.
It's a different, like you said, it's a different time. It's not the same.
Oh, it's really not. And it's only beginning. Like, I feel like we only started talking about AI like a year ago. We've already come here. Like, in 2 years, what's it going to be?
Oh,
In
absolutely.
5.
Well, that's why I say the pivot is real, and you got to figure out where you're going to stand in the whole thing, because you're not
guess
going to
so.
stop it.
No.
We didn't stop the internet. We didn't stop, we didn't stop any of it.
Remember how great it was in the late 90s? The golden age of the internet.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
But, there's some people out there that have been on Joe's show, Joe Rogan's show lately, that have talked about AI more in depth now that we've had that couple of years. And they've said, there's definitely no question at all. There's parts of it that are not great.
Yeah.
And if left unchecked, will be catastrophic.
Yeah.
However, if you use it, and I've said this several times on this show, if you use it as a tool in your toolbox and you use it for the right reasons, it can be good. It can be
Sure.
a good thing. It can help
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
But don't lose yourself in it.
Right.
Right. Don't become a brand for someone else, right? And not have your art, right? Because that's what you're sacrificing by going down that road, is that again, yeah, utilize it. It's great, awesome, but ultimately, it's all about the art. And that was the one thing that I wanted to sort of talk to you about, is like, do you find that, AI obviously is influencing the art, politics is influencing the art, this cost of touring is there anything from your travels around the world, is there anything that you've seen where people have found a way to overcome that?
It's always a way to overcome it. In terms of touring, it's like you have to, well, some people are choosing ticket prices as the antidote to how expensive things are. And I don't know how much of that is artists, and I don't know how much of that is venues, and I don't know how much that is promoters. I don't know what's responsible for $1,000 concert tickets, but something is. And so some people are choosing to deal with it that way. I don't know. You travel lean, I guess. Maybe 15 years ago, you were in a bus. Cool. Maybe you're in a van now. That's just the economic reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't change how good your music are. It changes you on an ego level maybe, and that's something to be considered. But it's like any other business. You have to run the margins as best you can. So, okay, people are doing it that way. How do you deal with AI? I don't know. I think the only thing you can do is it's just what you talked about, which is sticking to your own principles and your own values. Now more than ever, it's important for people to write their songs and produce their songs and especially play their songs, right? The one thing AI can't do yet is a show. They'll be able to at some point, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Although I saw some hilarious videos this week of robots that can't walk all that well and falling down and stuff. But eventually those robots are going to be able to walk and dance and even play guitar probably. Or they'll do the kiss thing with the avatars that they were teasing. I don't know, man. At the bottom line is you can just do you. So if you are a songwriter, write your songs. If you are a podcaster, make your podcast. If you are a painter, I mean, it was two people got it with AI first and hardest, painters and writers. And I'm a writer, by the way, and for a while made my living as such. And boy, people can produce in seconds now what used to take me a week to make just on their AI app. And I think ultimately what happens is, you're right, you can't stop it.
No.
The cat's out of the bag now. It's going to happen. It's going to get bigger. And it's going to get more prevalent. There's already a backlash, though, to AI slop. Okay. Make your art. More than ever, the world needs authentically created and authentically intended art, whether that's visual, music, TV, movies, podcasts even, if you consider that art. Some of them are. I'm not sure mine is, but some of them are. Authentic voices are what's needed more than ever now. So my encouragement to people, especially in the music business, is continue to be as authentic as you can. And it actually, I think, gives you a certain amount of license to be weird. Because what we know about AI-generated music is that most of it's going to be very cookie-cutter and very commercial and very paint by numbers, I suspect. So if you're an outlier, be one. Indulge it. Go for it. Yeah. That's what's going to separate you from the pack. It always has.
It always has. Some of the most successful artists out there are obscure.
Just weird. Yeah. And now it's like, if we can envision a day where almost everything you hear on the radio is produced by record companies through AI, then you probably don't have much chance to be in that world anyhow. So go be as authentically you as you can possibly be, and find your audience and go play for it. And we probably have to adjust what we think success is. When I came up in the 80s, success was a major label record deal and a platinum selling record. That paradigm is gone. It's been gone for a long time.
Yeah.
And now people may have to adjust what they think success looks like. And it may come back to an integrity being success, meaning the integrity of the art that you produce.
Yeah.
It's like, this may not have 1 billion streams on Spotify, but it's an authentically and genuinely created piece of art, and it's real. And maybe that is success.
I think that's one of the reasons why vinyl is still continuing to last, right?
I think so too.
Yeah, 100%. It, not just because of its tonal quality, but also because of its physical worth, right?
Absolutely.
It's a piece of physical vinyl that has this physical song on it, and it's authentic.
And it's not throwaway.
No.
Like MP3s are.
Yeah, it's not something that everyone else has either, right?
Yeah, there's a certain scarcity involved in.
So I think that when you combine that with what you're saying about young people being able to pack a small venue, I think that, in my opinion, and I've said it a couple times on the show, as I agree with you 100%. I think that we do need to adjust our definition of success. and I've said it a couple times, I'll say it again, I think that a realistic level of success for a young person coming into the scene is successfully put butts in seats in multiple cities in your area. If you can do that consistently, if you can fill a bar or a hall or a place like the Rec Room or whatever it is, if Palisade, if you can fill these places again and again consistently, doesn't have to be 1,000 people, doesn't even have to be 500 people.
Yeah.
But if you can fill a venue in London, a venue in Sarnia, a venue, if you can successfully build a following, it doesn't have to be huge. To me, that's, and of course having authentic art to perform them. But I think that that's currently, at least right now, to me, that's a very big thing, because not everybody can do that. And certainly not right now, AI cannot do this. So we can generate this sort of version of art using AI, great. But then now somebody has to go out and perform that in order for it to be real.
Right.
And so that's
That will happen too, by the way. Like there will be AI generated artists whose music you hear, and then they'll hire a band to go actually perform it, probably. I don't know, run a vocal track. I don't know. It's like you can see where this would go, and you have a couple of options. You can be really upset about that and pack it in. You can embrace that fully and try to make money with it. Lots of people are doing that. Or you can recognize that that exists and let it be its thing and continue doing yours. And the reality is, doing your own thing has always been the key to longevity, long before there was AI, right? I mean, I grew up in the 80s in the glam metal world, all right? There were a zillion copycat glam metal bands, none of which play anymore. There are about 5 that still do, and they were in some way original. So it is, There'll always be copycats. Now it just happens that the copycats are digital and they're able to proliferate at alarming rates. But the reality is, the key has always been producing your own art, whatever that is. And so continue to produce it. Double down on it. Embrace it. Go as hard as you can at it now, because you're now competing against a digital slop that is a tidal wave. So screw it. Go write your songs. Go play them. And find people like me who have your back to come play them with you.
What do you think about talking about doing performances and local live performances and stuff? There's been a couple people on that have talked about cover charge, and you mentioned the ticket prices earlier.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on sort of people willing to go out and spend umpteen dollars on tickets, but then, won't go unless the show's free, kind of thing? Like,
I don't know what to say about that. I think there's probably a weird perceived value thing. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this one band I want to see is playing at the arena in Toronto, let's say. They must have a higher value than my friend's band. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know your friend's band, but it's like, I don't know. I think at a certain level, people just think you're having a good time and that's it. It's just a hobby for you. And it isn't necessarily. Like, I used to struggle with this sometimes being on the road. Like, I'm doing 6 weeks in Europe, getting paid to play gigs. And I feel a certain amount of guilt about it. Like, this ain't working. That's the Dire Straits song. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. Play the guitar on the MTV. It's like we have this weird perception that music, not just that it doesn't have value, but that there's no work involved in it. Well, they're just having a good time. We don't pay people to have a good time. We don't pay people for that. We pay people to work, and work is difficult and not fun. If they're having fun, then there's no value in that. The opposite is true. All right. Doing a 6-week tour is a grind, man. One of the pictures that I sent you in preliminary for this is a photograph of me, not to make everything about me. There's a photograph of me sitting on a stool, asleep, and they're the head of Ken Ross and Deni Gauthier are in the foreground, and they're sort of pointing at the fact that I'm asleep. That is not the end of the gig. That's 5 minutes before we went on.
Oh wow!
I'm asleep.
Did you send me this photo?
Yeah,
Do we have it?
it's in the
Jared, can you pull this up?
pull that up, the famous photo. Me asleep on a stool. It'll be in the Sarah Smith collection. It's the first picture right there.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if the people are going to see. There I am asleep. Okay, we're going on in 5 minutes, all right? We're 5 weeks deep into a 6-week tour, playing every night, driving every day. It is not glamorous. It is an enormous amount of effort and energy and work, all right?
Right.
Most of the pictures I sent you of those tours are just shots outside the van window because that's the reality of tour. Look at look at the hair I had going.
Yeah, man.
I looked magnificent in those
Jared,
days.
just go through.
Look at that! Wow.
Go through some of
Look at
these
that.
photos here.
Look.
This is the Sarah Smith.
That was that night. So that was 10 minutes later. We're on stage playing. I don't know how much time we have left, but there's a whole story behind that particular gig and my life. All right, so that gig was played in a town in the Netherlands called Winterswijk, Netherlands. Gorgeous little medieval town, and they're all gorgeous medieval towns. And so in the town square, they set up this beer tent to have a festival. And we were headlining that festival, okay? And so terrific. We're 5 weeks deep in a 6-week tour. And there's something about the air in Winterswijk, Netherlands. It's just, there's something about that town that is really, really wonderful. There's an energy in it that's just beautiful. And so that show actually turned out to be one of the most fun shows I ever played in my life because we were, again, 5 weeks deep. We're exhausted. I was asleep just before we went on.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be warming up. I was literally asleep. We're just that tired. We're just that road weary at that point. And we had been playing a lot of theaters. Sarah had reached a level where we were playing some theater gigs, which is cool, but quiet. You have to sort of be careful with your volume on a theater gig. You play too loud, it overwhelms. It doesn't work. So we were playing somewhat restrained a lot of nights. There weren't a lot of like bar gigs, pub gigs, club gigs. This we got to. And it's a couple hundred drunk Dutch people at the end of the day. Like they were primed and we were just goofy and giddy. Like we're beat, man. But we got on stage and it was a loud stage on a loud night with a loud audience. We could really play. And so we cut loose, man. We played hard. We played loud. We played a little bit sloppy, a little bit tired, and we had a blast. It was fun.
That's cool.
They loved us and they appreciated us. And it was just a show where we let a bunch of stuff out. You know what I mean? And after it was over, the whole town was shut down for this thing. After it was over,
awesome.
There's like a French fry place right on the edge of the town square. And the owners of that place were there at the show. They're like, we're going to open up and have a party. Oh, great. So they're throwing a party for the band. So they opened up, they turned on the fryers. They're cooking all this Dutch stuff, snack food, bar food for the band and like 20 other people who they let in. And then we just went off and had this amazing party. Tons of people are so generous to us over there. Again, we're just an indie band from Canada. It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like the Foo Fighters were playing. It's just us. Everywhere we went, lovely to us, generous, and it's really fills you up. And so we had this amazing experience in this town, Winterswijk, Netherlands, and an enormously memorable show. Okay, terrific. That was, I think, 2019 probably. Pandemic comes. And every now and again, I go down a rabbit hole whereby I do like some ancestry stuff. I'm a historian, amateur historian. I have a degree in history. I like that. So I do genealogy stuff once in a while. And I often don't find much. During the pandemic, I went and I got lucky. And I found a family tree, a family line, 11 fathers deep on the Huff side. And it went all the way back to the year 1500 to a cat called Johannes Brinkerhoff, which is the origin of my name. Huff is the evolution of the name Brinkerhoff, which I didn't know, that my actual family name lineage is Dutch. And the Brinkerhoffs were to be found in the town of Woerden, Netherlands, about 25 minutes from Winterswijk.
Oh, that's amazing.
I come from there.
That's
I
crazy.
had no idea that this wonderful show and this wonderful energy, I'm actually from there. It just popped me, man. It's like, wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
None of that has anything to do with the fact that I was asleep. The point was, it is work.
Yes.
So that band that you don't want to pay a cover for, $5, you don't get it. They're not, I mean, they are having a good time on Friday night, but it's work, man. It's a job. It's like the work has value.
Oh, absolutely.
You wouldn't not pay your plumber who came, right? And he's $200 for his show. You know, the $5 cover does a couple of things. A, it makes, in a lot of cases, the venue able to put on a show at all. It's important. And B, it pays the band. But I mean, the alternative to that, of course, is the pass the hat thing, which is big in the States. You go to Nashville, you go to Austin. A lot of the shows at the local pub are pass the hat shows. Yeah. And my experience with that has been universally positive, actually. I mean, people are very generous. If they've come in for free, a lot of times people will we'll do really well out of pass the hat. So, I mean, there are ways around it. Sometimes you get somebody who's, a few pints deep who grabs that hat and shakes people's pockets for you. Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. I'm in the band, but you know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird. People are used to not paying for stuff. They get annoyed by having to pay for it, even if it's only $5.
Yeah, it's weird, eh?
Yeah.
Jared, what else we got in this folder? That's another Netherlands show in 2017. Look at my hair, man! I was magnificent. Why did I put that in? It's just a cool photo, Same show, and that's the original Sarah European touring band. So there's Ken Ross playing his Dan Electro bass. Deni Gauthier, singer-songwriter extraordinaire, playing lead guitar, Sarah, obviously. And then I'm stuck back there, as I always am, stuck back there. But that was like, we don't always get to play cool stages, here or there. A lot of times you're just setting up on the floor and playing pub gigs. And what I say to people is it's possible for you to do that. I've talked to a lot of acts in London, Ontario, and they're like, you went to Europe? That's amazing. Yes, it is. By the way, you can too. I can't guarantee you'll make money, but it's possible for you to go and do those tours. And some people have. And I encourage people, man, do it. Even if you're going to lose, go and do it. Why did I put that photo in? Sarah won't be pleased with that one. I didn't look very closely. Because that's a pandemic show. Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So it's like, okay, the previous shot, there we are on a big stage in a really big club in the Netherlands doing the thing. Sometimes you're at a golf course playing your box drum. And that is the reality of side player life, right? Don't get hung up on the glamour side. A real working musician sometimes is working at a golf course. And that's not just me at my level. That's people at the very highest level, right?
Yeah.
So you might be out with X artist playing 5,000 seaters for a couple of months run. That's cool and that's great and fun. And then you're going to get home and you're picking up a gig at the golf course that weekend because that's making a living as a musician. Don't get hung up on the glamour, kids.
Yeah.
It's there's two sides of it. And look where life can take you. That is Kay Howell in her orange hat and Sarah and me in 2021. And that is the cathedral in Cologne. And it's one of the most magnificent structures you will ever lay your eyes upon. And why did I put that in there? Because I talk about possibility. All right. That was 2021. That was actually the last tour I was ever able to do. 10 years before that, my legs are shaking walking onto a 1 foot high stage at the London Music Club. Push through a veil of fear, let life align, and you find yourself in front of that cathedral in Cologne, on tour in Europe playing gigs. I put that in there because I want my story to be about possibility.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that I'm not a terrific drummer. I'm not a great drummer. There are 100 better drummers in this city than me. And yet I used what I had. An opportunity knocked, and look at the places you can go. Oh, the places you'll go, Dr. Zeus said. And it's like, in Schmoln, Germany, all right, the Sarah Band. And I put that in the picture. I put that in because there's a really fun piece of history. That particular club in the outskirts of Schmoln, Germany, which you've never heard of, as far as we understand it, used to be a clandestine club. It's in what used to be East Germany.
Oh, wow.
And that room used to be like a hidden kind of place where, because pop music was illegal in East Germany, you couldn't do that, right? And so it used to be like a speakeasy. Like if you wanted to hear rock and roll records or rock and roll being played or whatever, you had to kind of go to a little hideout underground club and kind of look over your shoulder and experience that. There was a phenomenon in the Soviet Union that they called bone music. Are you familiar with bone music?
No.
So they couldn't have American rock and roll records over there, right? But they figured out that you could press music onto X-rays, onto like old X-rays. And so people had a thriving underground business. There we are in front of the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. The Sarah Band, some fans / friends, and the places you'll go. I went back to that spot earlier this year by myself. Took a little solo trip to Berlin to reminisce and remember some of those things. We played a gig in Berlin, and down they took us to see the gate. For a historian like me, that was pretty heavy. Bone music, they could press music onto vinyl, and so they would make copies. They couldn't have American rock records. They would smuggle them in. They'd make copies of rock records onto this pressed X-ray material. And so you'd see this oddly shaped record spinning, and there would be bones on it because they were X-rays. And so they called this bone music. Fun fact, Hiroshima Hearts released, after we won the Made in London contest, we went to EMAC and recorded an EP of 5 songs that we called bone music for that reason. That was our version of
That's crazy.
Pressing our dreams onto vinyl, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was another Sarah gig where it was kind of the first time I felt really comfortable playing in Sarah's band. Like, as we talked about my stage fright, we talked about my fear of not being good enough, being found out to be lacking as a player, and then stepping up into that role and really having some cognitive dissonance about whether I belong here. And that was the first gig. It was it was in Port Stanley. It was not far away.
Oh, okay. Cool.
GTs. And that was just the first night I felt like I belonged a little bit. And that for me, that was a huge mental hurdle. So I put that in there for that reason.
Cool.
And fun fact about that photo is that I posted it on Instagram, and it was liked randomly by Michael Jackson's drummer.
Oh, cool. I follow him on Instagram.
Sugarfoot Moffat liked that photo, and I don't even know how he even saw it. But
that's cool.
Let's talk about another wonderful synchronicity, which is that book you're looking at right there. So as you'll recall from earlier in the conversation, I was at one point in my life an aspiring writer, and I had gone cold on that and was very frustrated, which which opened the door for me to pursue music instead. So the first time we went to Europe, 2017, I had a little intuition. In the same way that I had an intuition that said, you have to play music now, I had an intuition that said, do a tour blog. Do a tour blog. It's like, oh, because I'd read other people's tour blogs, writers mostly, out touring, and I find it fascinating. I like the behind the scenes stuff. I like the behind the music. I like all of that. So I had this intuition that said, why don't you do a tour blog? It's fun, be an interesting writing exercise. Give me something, force me to do some pages every day. And, touring is a lot of downtime. There's a lot of van time, It's a lot of twiddling your thumbs. Like, maybe. So, okay. I got my hands on a tablet. I built a website. It's like, okay, we'll try this. And so I faithfully tour blog. That was a short tour. It was a month, 30 days. It's not a huge commitment. So I faithfully every day did and posted a blog about just what was going on the road. And it found an audience. Sarah has a lot of fans, and the ones who are not at those shows, the ones back home, were tuning in every morning.
Oh, wow.
Like we were ahead of them on the clock. So I would publish and they would get up for their breakfast and they'd read the tour blog. And then it's like, it became a thing. Up to a point, it became a thing. And so when that tour was over, Sarah said, why don't we publish it?
Oh, that's cool.
So, okay, let's do that. So I did some editing on it. I gathered a bunch of pictures from people. That front cover, I think, was taken maybe by our friend Efi, just the bow at the end of one show. And my good friend Jason Rank is a fantastic designer, and so he did layout for us. And we printed this book, November, A Month in Europe with Sarah Smith, which I think is sold out now. But the point being, a couple of points. A, follow those intuitions because you never quite know where they lead. And B, what a fun synchronicity that the blocked writer shifted into music and wound up writing a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I did tour blogs for 2018 and 2019 as well. They're both still kind of unedited on my website, john-huff.com, if I can do a little plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I mean, you can read the subsequent blogs. They exist. They're not as...
Hop over to the other folders there. The number 1 folder.
Jen and the Hearts.
Yeah.
Oh, so look at that. There we are, opening. I think that night was... I don't know if that was Nazareth or if that was Headstones at London Music Hall. There should be another photo in that folder of the crowd. Dude, when you've played to that sea of empty seats that Sarah Harmer sang about, how fun is it to look out and see an audience like that? And it's like...
It's awesome.
We started in the basement at London Music Club for 30 people and eventually worked our way to that. And what a wonderful journey that was. And for me, again, everything that I'm presenting here is just about what happens when you push through a little bit of fear.
What's the next one, Jerry?
That is at Aeolian Hall.
I recognize it.
I think we set a decibel record that night. We were releasing vinyl, 7-inch vinyl that night for our song Reach Out. So I had a dream to play Aeolian Hall. Because it's such a great little space. I didn't think it would be with a big loud rock band. We see Howie Zowie playing theremin on that particular song, which means
I noticed that.
We were ending the show with a cover of Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, cool.
And it's just, we made the dream happen ourselves. We I play with a lot of singer-songwriters. That's normally who you would find at Aeolian Hall.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work out, so we did it ourselves, and it's like I look back with such fondness on the ride that was that band and how much we put into it and how, we were good. Yeah. That was the peak. That was the peak Hiroshima Hearts. That was not peak Hiroshima Hearts. That was very early on the day that our original singer quit the band.
Oh, wow.
And why do I put that in? Because sometimes you just got to do that, man. The show must go on. So we were down a singer, and we didn't bail. We each took leads. We played some stuff, whatever. Tyler played slide with a beer bottle. It was an enormous release of energy. And that night, we sent a message. We were waiting to go on. The singer had just quit. We're like, what are we going to do? And Megan left the band because the band, she was a magnificent blues and jazz singer. Or a rock band. You go back to the last picture, you see what the band was actually all about. That's what we wanted to be. That was not really her vibe. She remains one of my best friends, and one of the great legacies of being in that band is my friend Megan. But it wasn't the right fit for her, so she left the band, and so the show must go on. But that night, we sent a message to no less than Morgan Lander herself.
Oh, there you go.
Who you will know out there as the front person from the band Kitty, which is arguably the biggest band that ever came out of this town. We sent a message to Morgan and said, hey, you want to sing in our blues rock band? Because Kitty was on hiatus at that point. Morgan had expressed an interest at one point in singing something a little bit different from Kitty, and we're in no way like Kitty. So we messaged Morgan, hey, you want to sing for us? What a coup that would be. She's like, no, I don't think I want to do that, but you should talk to my friend Jen. She just moved back from out west. She's looking to get something going. She might be a good fit. It's like, we had never heard of Jen, who turned out to be Jen Marino, who changed our band in the best possible way.
That's cool.
Because Jen Marino is 100% rock star. Our little rock band needed one of those, and Jen showed up, and everything changed at that point. And there we are, shooting the video for our song 4 Steps Down. That's Nick Pilecki there of the band Painted Faces, and Kyle Wakeman, who had also a video production company called Hungry Boy, which has turned into Nick's full-time job, by the way. And we had access to this church downtown, and we shot the video for our song 4 Steps Down in there. And that's a special song because we each had a hand in writing that one. We had an interesting writing process. We had several writers in the band. A lot of times we would bring in songs on our own. I would bring in songs that were formally done. And then I would need a real guitar player to make them sound like songs, but like they were done. This one was 100% collaboration. So I brought in the idea. I brought in a lot of the music for it. The Blackshire Pub releasing our first CD, self-titled. Anyways, 4 Steps Down, I brought in the initial musical idea, and then Tyler did like the chorus, and Jen wrote the lyrics, and Mike did the bridge, and Kimmy did a lot of the vocal harmonies. So it's the first time we kind of really collaborated on a tune, which turned out to be one of our best tunes, 4 Steps Down. And Morgan Lander does appear in that video, by the way. She also appears in our video for Spend Your Money. So Morgan was like a recurring character in our videos for a while. So that brought some Kitty fans, that brought us to their attention, and most of them didn't like us at all. But it put us on their radar. So
that's cool.
Yeah, just some fun memories. And the Shire, I just wanted a picture of the Shire because that was maybe 2015. Yeah. Oh, New Year's Eve. Look at that crowd. So
it's a great crowd every year.
We also won the contest to open New Year's Eve. That was also 2017, I think. Finger 11 was the headliner, so I got to chat with Steve Malella, the drummer from Finger 11, for a while. And why do I put that in there? Because, dude, 6 years ago I trembled stepping onto a stage, pushed through a little bit of fear, and then I'm in front of that huge audience, experiencing that and not nervous remotely. You know what I mean? It's like, I only put it in as evidence. All I ever want to present is evidence that things are possible to do. If somebody who's as frightened as me can find themselves being able to do that, then it's like, what can you find yourself able to do? You know what I mean? And I always just want my story to be an inspiration to people.
So welcome to London and 2 Degrees of Separation.
Yeah? Were you there?
I was doing lights on that show.
I love it. I love it.
I was the lighting guy on that show because my dad asked me because I had previously been out with Finger 11, and he's like, "Hey man, I need a lighting guy for this New Year's Eve thing. You went out with those guys. Maybe you want to come back and do this show." And I said, "Yeah, all right." So I did.
So you were there.
I was
There's
there.
the convergence.
Yeah,
That
I
was
there. Jared, can you go to the last?
That
folder?
was fun.
Not the last folder, but the what's the other one?
There's a Carly folder.
The Carly
there's
folder.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll do the other one.
Yeah, I mean that's the same stage, obviously, but that's home county. So I mean, I think we were on like 7:00 on Friday or Saturday night at home county. That's a sea of people, and again, I post that picture for two reasons: A, everybody go listen to Carly Thomas. She's fantastic. And B, again, it's just, look at the audience, look at the stage. It's like I didn't have any of that in mind when I started doing this. It's just possible. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just the evidence that it's possible for you to do the things you want to do. And that's my original version of, that's at Rum Runners. That's Ken and Pat Dryberg and Carly. Me. And that was probably 2015 or something, 14. And that version of the band played together for the first time again this year, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's been a lot of sort of ins and outs, but that actual band played together for the first time in, I think, 10 years this year.
That's cool.
That's in Vancouver at the Railway Club. So Carly and I, in I think 15, we were the Via Rail Artist on Board. Are you familiar with that program?
Yeah.
So for those who aren't, Via used to, I don't know if they still do, had what they called the Artist on Board program. So if you are any sort of an artist and can entertain people, you can ride for free on Via. So Carly applied for that, and she took me along as her +1, and we played 3 shows a day on the train going from Toronto. We went all the way to Edmonton, which is a long-ass ride, and played 3 shows a day on the train, which was wild. And then we got off in Edmonton. We did 2 weeks around Alberta. We booked a bunch of shows. So as a duo, we played a bunch of shows, and then we got back on in Edmonton to Vancouver, picked up Pat Dryberg, who was living in Vancouver at the time. And we did another couple weeks around BC, around the island. And so that was a gig at a club in Vancouver. And again, it's just, how did I wind up in Vancouver playing with Carly? And then later I wound up in Vancouver playing with Sarah. It's like pushing through fear, pushing through self-doubt, learning the craft, having faith in the way you do things. And it's like the way life can open up and blossom into these really cool experiences is super cool. That was one of my favorite nights in music. That was at the Press Club in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
And it's a blurry photo, but the night before, we had done Carly's Explode EP release show at Call the Office in London. I think we pretty much packed it out. And I think that was a Friday night in London. And it was one of the most pressure-filled and prepared nights of my life. It's a big deal to do a CD release. I didn't play on that record. Matt Very played drums on that record and did a great job, but I was playing in the band at that point. So we'd done this show at Call the Office, which was just a lot of preparation, a lot of pressure, a lot of up here, right? And then the next night we played the Press Club in Toronto with all of the show done, the pressure off, like it's like we just relax. And so we drove down to Toronto and we played this tiny little room in Toronto, of which there used to be hundreds. One of those really long, narrow rooms where the band sets up by the door and people are walking past you to leave, looking apologetic at you.
Yeah, you can see the door in the photo.
Right there, right? This tiny little space. And that was one of the great nights of my musical life because we were driving home that night. We had borrowed, I think, Carly's brother's SUV so we could fit the band. And we were just driving back, and we'd had this weekend of a couple of big gigs, and we'd been playing together for a while, and we felt really good about it. and each other. And I just remember, I think I was driving and I felt like I had all of these people who I love kind of in my custody at that point. I was driving us home. It was quiet, and it was just this real level of affection. And the van is a sacred space for a band, especially a band on tour. The van is the one space where you're all together and you're separate from the world. Like there's a lot, even at my level, there's a lot of demands on you when you're on tour. There might be press to do. There might be just people want to talk to you, which is fabulous. It's wonderful. It's nice, but it takes a lot out of you. And the van is a sacred space for that reason. Mm-hmm. We're very protective of the van. So that night, we're just driving home, having accomplished the thing we were going to do. And I just felt such enormous affection for these friends who are still my friends now. And so instead of a picture of the EP release, I have a picture of the night after the EP release, when it's just like, it felt really good to be in a band with those people, you know, and to have done that.
Jared, go to the 5th folder. The 5? No, 4. Sorry.
So yeah. Lindsey. And yeah. Oh, wow. That's at the Sugar Shack. So, and I only put that in just to tell you, everybody, that Lindsey and the Lonelies has a new record coming out. So,
hey,
yeah, cool. Called Neon Moon, and we that's my alternative country band.
Nice,
which is unlike anything else I've ever played in before. So that I'm just happened to be recording drum parts on something, and Lindsey of Lindsey and the Lonelies is just a fantastic songwriter, and we've been working hard for 10 years at this band. This will be our 2nd album. And it's really good. I can say that because I didn't write it, so it's not like I'm bragging about my. Lindsey wrote the record. I played on it. I sang on it. It's almost ready, and we're a different sort of a band because that's us right there. And so our that's a horrendous picture of me, but that was this summer in St. Thomas, actually, Pinafore Park, and the show begins. It's a very spaghetti western kind of band. The songs are that. We wear, you know, skeleton shirts. And sometimes masks, and it's a whole thing we've worked really hard to create, a sort of vibe around this band and how we perform and the music, and it's a bit kitschy, but it's fun. And cool. And what makes it's the juxtaposition between the songs, which are uniformly sad and depressing. They were called the Lonelies. But the stage show is actually quite fun. So it's a weird kind of a thing. But keep your eyes open, ears open for new Lindsey and the Lonelies music. And on stage with Broomsticks and Hammers, which is another really terrific local band. Paul Aiken on guitar, and Bill Needham and Dave Jury. Some really, really terrific players. And that was my first gig with them. It was at Canterbury Folk Festival in Ingersoll. Why do I include it? It's just another place you wind up. That guy who is so frightened to play and so full of self-doubt, stepping onto another really big stage in front of a really big audience to perform. And it's like just further evidence of what's you're capable of and what's possible. And that's me in the background, actually. But two of my favorite people on earth, Katie Pascoe on the left, Kay Howell on the right. And why do I include this photo? Because that's when I met both of them for the first time, and I now play with both of them. And Katie and her husband Josh front a band called Fresh Breath. I'm actually leaving this interview to go record with them tonight and play tomorrow. They're based in Kingsville. Really terrific Americana music. They've got X number of records out, and they're full-timers. And
oh, that's cool.
Kay now lives in Vienna, Austria, which is the most beautiful city I've ever seen. And I put this photo in because I said earlier, you got to get out playing and making connections, right? So I was on that gig at Barn on the Farm, which is a venue that Katie and Josh run on their farm. Beautiful spot. I was there playing with Sarah, but I met Katie and I met Kay and made those musical connections. And now I perform with Katie and with Kay. And it's just like, that's how this happens. All right. It doesn't usually happen through auditions. It usually happens through meeting people on gigs. So I include that because I met those people on a gig and now I perform with both of them, and they're two of my best friends. So That's the Nimue Band with the great Anne Monez performing at Rum Runners. And it just gives me a chance to say that Anne Monez is one of the great performers you will ever see in your life. So go see the swing band, the electro swing band, Tell It to Sweeney, and you will find Anne fronting that band now. And there's just nobody better than Anne Monez. So if you want to leave your jaw at a venue, go watch Anne, because it'll be on the floor. That's all.
Very cool.
I was in that band for about a year. We did an EP, which I'm really proud of. And go see Anne Monez play.
Well, thanks for sharing all that, man.
I'm happy to.
What's coming down the pipe for you? What's going on in the future?
Yeah, so the Lindsey record's coming out sometime soon. Probably it'll be early next year.
Mm-hmm.
Neon Moon, watch for it. I am performing regularly with the Carly Thomas Band, regularly with Lindsey and the Lonelies, regularly with Fresh Breath. I'm not sure when this show will air.
It'll air in a couple of weeks.
All right, so it'll already be over, but I have a local gig coming up with Fresh Breath, which is rare. We don't normally play around London. And I have a cover band that we're in at the moment with Ken again, and Hound Dog Hool of local renown called Heroes of Unsung, which we haven't played out yet, but we're working on it.
All right.
So playing with all those people and loving it, doing my podcast, and we'll see what the year brings. You know, my last tour was 2021, but Kay, who's now based in Europe, is one of the great piano players you will ever lay your eyes upon, and a really wonderful songwriter as well. So I may wind up over there playing some shows with her, hopefully.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That would be fun. So I hope that happens.
Where can people find the pod?
They can find it everywhere. Available wherever you enjoy fine podcasts. Semi-Eloquent with John Huff. Or you can go to john-huff.com/podcast and listen to it there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, man.
It remains an honor to be here. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you giving a platform to the side players. Our names are never on the poster, but damn it, we're on the stage. You know, we're doing our bit, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody, this is Ryan. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching Music City Live. If you like this episode, like the video. And for more clips and episodes, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to join the conversation by commenting below, and visit us at musiccityliveshow.com.